Friday, the 22nd of September, Jumbo Africa. I'm Elvis Preslin.
I'm Kendall Mahamat.
Now, we'll be with you until 12 o'clock today. Now, today we focus on Dr. Khoza, Kendall. Now, she's just resigned from the ANC.
Oh, yes.
Some say it's long overdue. Some says it came as a surprise.
Yeah, no, it's still fireworks. So whether it's overdue for a surprise or not, still fireworks that she's still spewing. A very interesting conversation she had this morning with our colleague next door, Manas and Zizi Kotwa.
And that's why we're asking you this question. On our poll today, let's put up that poll so you can have take a look at that. We say, are you surprised by Dr. Khoza's resignation from the African National Congress? Now, so far, 292 votes in, Kendall.
Yeah, 88% of our respondents say no, they did see this coming, whereas 12% say yes, they're surprised.
Yes, okay. So let's take a look at what you are telling us on the Twitter handle. Shanda says, I'm actually shocked because I was expecting more from her in fighting those corrupt leadership within the ANC.
Very interesting take there. What more could she do?
Well, we'll take a look at some more of those comments coming through, but we also focus on the South African Democratic Teachers Union, SATU. Now, they say that this morning they'll pull 30 of their teachers from schools in Eldorado Park and Klipspruit West.
So basically 30 schools in the Klipspruit area will have all of their teachers withdrawn that are affiliated to SATU?
All of them that are affiliated. Wow. So, yep, there's going to be a couple of teachers left, and the rest is out. And that's why we're asking you this question.
Wow, we want to find out from you. You know, let's get involved with this particular matter. And the question that we're asking for you is right there on your screen.
What do you make of SATU's withdrawing its members from 30 schools in Klipspruit and Eldorado Park? Let's take a look at what you're telling us.
Michael Bigham's Tola says it undermines the rights of learners, but the parents in the colored neighborhoods must stop interfering and dictating on who should be the principal.
Well, as you know, Collins says when dialogue fails, action is. SATU's decision to withdraw its members will knock some sense into those bullies. Now, these are some of your comments, and as you heard, of course, SATU still need to comment on this because the finger was pointed at them as starting all the trouble. So we'll find out a little bit later, but we're also running a sports question.
Absolutely. Banyana did what was called impossible. 15 minutes to go, they then pulled their way back to go and win against Zambia, a nation we struggle against sometimes in the COSAFA Cup. So Banyana are now through to the final of the COSAFA Cup. And we want to find out from you, do you think they can inspire some of our other national teams?
You look at the Springboks, you look at Bafana.
Oh, yes.
Perhaps we need some inspiration. Not divine intervention, but inspiration.
Absolutely. And Siafana Zulu Eshawa says, yes, I think they're supposed to take a lesson about this team of Banyana. And congratulations, girls, for going through to the final.
The righty girls, says Siafana. Colin says, I don't see that happening because I doubt that other national teams are even aware of the existence of Banyana.
You know, a little tongue-in-cheek there, but I think it speaks a lot to the kind of support that our women's national teams sometimes do not get from us, the media, as well as you, the public. So we're talking about them today. They are inspirational. Banyana, Bafana, take a leaf out of their page. I think that Box should do the same.
Well, they should actually, because 57, what was it? 57-0?
57-0.
You have to take a leaf. Well, let's take a look at your news headlines. Former ANC member Khoza says that she could still rejoin the ANC if it institutes charges against the President Jacob Zuma for bringing the party into disrepute. The ANC in KZN is expected to be at the center stage when ANC-NEC meets today in Pretoria. And schooling in Eldorado Park in Johannesburg expected to suffer a major setback amid SATU's decision to withdraw all its members from the area's schools. Now, those are all your headlines. But before we get to the news, let's find out from Kendall Makamate what's happening on the sports front.
Elvis, thank you very much. Quite a lot happening in the world of sports. We've got all sorts of activities of the weekend, tennis, rugby, but football really is our focus this morning. Good morning to you. This is what we've got for you in the sports today.
She beats the marker. She comes with the cross. Oh my goodness! The three-time champions from an unlikely position get the equalizer.
Banyana advanced to the final of the COSAFA Women's Cup after closing down a 3-goal deficit with 15 minutes to go against Zambia, forcing a penalty shootout, which they then go on to win.
Drama here, three-time champions.
A resurgent Orlando Pirates stands in Bidvest Witz's way as the league's floundering defending champions desperate to seek a way up from second to last on the log. And defending champions, African champions rather, Mamelodi Sundowns with a narrow 1-0 lead against Wydad Casablanca are one win away from the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League. All this should make for riveting viewing over the weekend and, of course, for great report backs on Monday morning. I'll have all this in more detail a little later. Do stay with Elvis as he's got the news.
Thank you, Kendall. Top story this morning. Former ANC Member of Parliament Khoza says that she is willing to rejoin the ANC if it institutes charges against the President Jacob Zuma for bringing the party into disrepute. Dr. Khoza announced her resignation from the party and Parliament yesterday. She has continued to speak out against the governing party, saying that the ANC wanted to get rid of her and has accused its leadership of lacking principles.
If the ANC could charge Comrade Jacob Zuma first, because, you know, this thing of being exemplary is very important. Start with the head. If they can charge him for bringing the name of the ANC into disrepute, if they want me to help them with the charges, I will help them formulate them. I will, because I've read that constitution. You know, I will, actually the whole Rule 25, Comrade Zizi, I've read. Yeah. And I can tell you exactly which rule the president has broken consistently. Okay. And if they do that, and they begin to charge people who are bringing the name of the ANC into disrepute, and not to charge people who are trying to save the ANC, I will go back to the ANC.
Well, in the same interview with SABC News, Dr. Khoza said that she is relieved that she finally took the decision to resign from the African National Congress. However, she says it's one of the hardest things she had to do.
In fact, it's the ANC that molded my moral conscience. It's the ANC that built my moral character. But however, the current ANC leadership is not in sync with the kind of person that I am. Mm-hmm. They don't allow open, to discuss challenges of the organization openly. The organization is evidently on a downward spiral, but the comrades are so much in denial. They keep on saying address the issues within, as if within it's easy to address the issues. Yeah. They are so intolerant of divergent views, and that's the biggest problem of the ANC. You are easily labeled, you are easily told you are handled. I mean, even Zizi Kodwa has been saying, I'm handled, I am this, they know I'm being handled by somebody.
Well, talking about Zizi Kodwa, the ANC national spokesperson said that the party had treated Dr. Khoza fairly. Also speaking to us here at SABC News this morning, Kodwa disputed perceptions that she had been targeted and hounded out of the party because of her gender.
People who have ventilated the same issues that she has raised in public, many of whom have done so courageously, internally so, whilst they've also raised those issues in public. You're talking about many other members of the NEC have been bold enough, who have ventilated issues in Parliament. They've come to the NEC of the ANC to repeat the same issues they've raised. That is the courage and bravery we want from any member of the ANC, and we encourage that. So she has received fair treatment equal to other members.
Remaining with Dr. Khoza's resignation, the ANC presidential hopeful Lindiwe Sisulu says that Makosi Khoza's resignation is a blow to the party. The Gauteng ANC chair, Paul Moshatile, agrees that Khoza's exit is a loss to the party. Now, they were speaking on the sidelines of a housing summit on Gauteng's East Rand.
Makosi Khoza to have the same kind of attitude towards the problems that she's experiencing, I would have wanted her to hold out, because we need people like her. I would have wanted her to hold up and continue the fight. The fight to ensure that the ANC is indeed the only option for the people of South Africa depends on us constantly accepting criticism and self-criticism. I don't know the circumstances under which she resigned, but I am regretful that she has resigned.
ANC is an organization that all of us join voluntarily. So if anybody wishes to leave, there's nothing we can do. But I don't think it's correct to say the ANC as an organization is a corrupt organization. You may have challenges with certain individuals, but the ANC as an organization, in fact, has been at the forefront of fighting corruption. There are good men and women in the ANC, and I think they will be able to continue to strive to ensure that the ANC deals with these challenges, whether it's state capture, corruption, and so on. I don't think we should give up.
The ANC Special National Executive Committee, the NEC, meeting will get underway in Irene in Pretoria today. Among the issues, it's expected to discuss the ruling of the High Court in Pietermaritzburg, which nullified the 2015 KwaZulu-Natal elective conference. The court gave the provincial leadership 15 days in which to appeal. Confusion is raging after the current KZN leadership announced that it would appeal the ruling. ANC Secretary General Gwede Mantashe has said only the NEC would make such a decision. Now, schooling in Eldorado Park and Klipspruit in Johannesburg is expected to suffer a major setback today. The South African Democratic Teachers Union, SATU, says it will withdraw all its members from Eldorado Park schools from this morning over allegations of racism. Now, the move was prompted by the ongoing tension between black and colored teachers at Klipspruit West Secondary School, which the MEC Panyaza Lesufi found was not a racial incident. Now, this week, 11 black teachers walked out over accusations of misconduct by parents, which they say is a witch hunt and a ploy to have them removed.
SATU says it has had enough and claims the department has failed to adequately address the plight of black teachers at Klipspruit West Secondary School.
As SATU and the Eldorado Park branch, we need to do something to put pressure to Lesufi and them. Because this matter should have been long resolved.
In July, the school was dogged by racial tensions after coloured parents refused to have a black principal head the institution. This week, there were fresh tensions when community members refused teachers, majority black, from entering the school over allegations of assaulting pupils.
No teacher must be reporting elders. If the director is not moving, we are going to withdraw our labor face service as teachers. And then after that, it will be learners.
The DA says learners will be hit hard.
You can see the tensions at the school. Learners are the ones who are affected. And we are more concerned about the learners because the future of these learners cannot be jeopardized because of the fight between either the union and the department.
SATU members will now report to district officers. The decision means that 324 teachers will be withdrawn from 30 schools in the Eldorado Park area, a move that could jeopardize the sitting preliminary examinations. Exams are expected to continue till the end of September. Criselda Lewis, SABC News in Eldorado Park, Johannesburg.
Former Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan and his former deputy, Mcebisi Jonas, are demanding a full disclosure of the role that various parties played in the way in which staff of the auditing firm KPMG colluded during the compilation of the SARS report. The two met with KPMG's global chairperson John Weimeyer and other senior executives. Their meeting followed the auditing firm's withdrawal of that so-called rogue unit at SARS. 8 KPMG executives have resigned. Weimar has apologized, saying that the firm's local branch made serious errors in judgment. And that's why we're asking you this question, of course. In fact, we asked the question in relation to what is currently happening. What do you make of SATU's withdrawal of their members from the Eldorado Park schools this morning? We would like to find out from you. 30 schools are going to be affected by this. We'd like to find out from you what your take on that. Let us know on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom as well as on the Facebook page. Let's take a look at what you're telling us. This one coming in from Doc Moses Villani says, I'm not surprised by SATU. They are useless anyway. They are the main reason why public schools are average. That one there. This one from Stembiso says, it was never necessary. They should have started talks and come up with solutions. This will cost our kids. And it's a wrong political decision. That one from Stembiso there. You can keep them coming. We'll read them as we continue here this morning on the newsroom, so don't stop. Now, let's take a look at what's trending on Twitter. And we start off with the former ANC Member of Parliament, Dr. Makosi Khoza. There's a hashtag there, Makosi Khoza, who announced yesterday that she has resigned from the ANC and Parliament. She says that she would return to the ANC if it institutes charges against the President, Jacob Zuma, for bringing the party into disrepute. Well, that's one of our questions that we're asking you today in our poll. We'd like to find out what you make of that. Then today is World Rhino Day, hashtag. And as the plight of the rhinos increase, despite the efforts poaching increases, now today we celebrate all those who have fought to protect these endangered animals. And then President Donald Trump has once again landed in hot water after he addressed the African leaders at the UN yesterday. However, with almost 28,000 tweets, people are having some fun with the way that Trump mispronounced Namibia, instead calling our neighbor Nambia. Now, this after he already said that his friends are making a lot of money in Africa. And he was also told, of course, by the president of Zimbabwe that Trump must go and blow his trumpet somewhere else. Now moving to Mexico, the death toll from the earthquake that struck earlier this week has risen to 273. However, the community is working together to help find those who are still trapped under the rubble, and people have called this dog, Frida, a hero after she saved 12 people. Hashtag Mexico earthquake. Moving on to Europe now. Today marks the first day of autumn, also known as the autumn equinox. The transition marks the time when the sun will be shining directly on the Earth's equator, bringing equal amounts of daylight and darkness. Well, 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. It almost sounds like a horror movie, doesn't it? Autumn equinox. That's the hashtag there. Picture of the day. Now, picture of the day comes from DRZL. And it shows the advert for coffee that says, this is the all-natural Nambian Kofefe, made with 100% confusion. Now, this image is also captioned, order while stocks last. Hashtag Nambia, hashtag Kofefe. Now, follows Donald Trump, of course, calling Namibia Nambia. And then, of course, you know about Kofefe. Well, he mispronounced probably Kofifi here in Johannesburg. Kofifi, it's a township here, you know. It was one of those areas that, of course, suffered under apartheid when people were removed forcibly here in South Africa. And it was called Kofifi, the area of arts and culture and integration. Black, white, green, blue. Everybody celebrated in Kofifi. Donald Trump trumped it as Kofefe. The comment of the day comes from Isaac Nkumalo, and he says, I like her. She does not tolerate nonsense, something much needed in leadership role. Tough, but not too rough. That is referring to Makosi Khoza. So what do you make of all of that? Well, let us know what's on your mind. But let's take a look at what is happening in our courts today. Some more serious issues in Mafikeng, or Mai Kang. A 24-year-old farmer accused of attempted murder is today expected to appear in the Brits Magistrates Court for a bail application. Matthew Benson is accused of the attempted murder of a 24-year-old Tebohon Dovu for allegedly stealing oranges. He allegedly shot and wounded in Ndlovu. Now, that's only one of the stories that will keep you updated as we continue here today on the Newsroom. But let's now throw forward to Monday, as when you do tune into the show on Monday, where we will be taking a closer look at whose Heritage Day is it anyway? Mine, yours, or for the rest of all of us? That's what's happening on Monday, but we'll take a short break. We'll be right back after that.
Today on Rights and Recourse, we will unpack the new traditional court bill.
The idea of the bill is not to overregulate, to basically set the principles.
The most important aspect of this bill is that it understands that customary law, by its nature, is consensual. That I have a right to affiliate, I have a right, therefore, to opt in, and I have a right to opt out.
The opt-out provision is basically one that you've got to respect the court in the sense of, if you've been summoned, you've got to tell the clerk of the court at least that you're not willing to attend.
The challenge that I would like to throw to the Department of Justice, it has to come up with mechanisms of ensuring that people who exercise their right to opt out or to opt in are not in any way victimized.
Hashtag Rights with Dumila Mates on legal issues every Sunday at 2 o'clock Central African Time.
KPMG. Remaining with that particular story, the pressure continues to mount on the embattled and disgraced auditing firm. Now, with already 2 of KPMG South Africa's clients having pulled the plug on them and more threatening to cut ties, the existence of the company KPMG South Africa hangs in the balance. KPMG has admitted that its report on tax collectors' investments investigations unit, the rogue unit it was called, was legally flawed, and they withdrew it. Now, the auditing firm has subsequently apologized and offered to donate all proceeds it made from compiling the report to charity. But the key question is whether that is enough to undo the damage that this report did to the economy of this country. Now, we spoke to economist Lumkile Mondi on the economic implications of the KPMG report on the rogue unit within SARS. You've seen the fallout from the KPMG saga. Do you think that they will ever recover?
Well, I don't think so. If the South African stakeholders do demand accountability, accountability to institutions that are supposed to play an oversight role, which auditors are critical for. So I don't see them really recovering. I think the onus is on us, those who sit on boards, the other stakeholders broadly, particularly South African taxpayers, and those that are marginalized, because the biggest brand and economic consequences of their action is felt at the bottom of the pyramid, those 38 million South Africans that live in poverty.
Talking about the 38 million South Africans, that report that is now rescinded, of course, relating to the SARS rogue unit. Some say that that was used as a political tool. Do you concur with that?
Very much so. Remember that the basis of March 31 were firstly a flawed intelligence report. Secondly, the continuous articulation of what was contained in the report, pertaining specifically to former Minister of Finance, Pravin Gordhan. So we think those actions, which subsequently led to a continuous downgrade of South Africa, and the pressure mounting, particularly on our ability as a country to really deal with the questions of the day. The question of the day being investor confidence into South Africa, consumer confidence, as well as the ability of the state to deal with the inequality, poverty, and unemployment that is endemic in the society.
Sums that were bandied about when the finance minister was sacked, was charged, amount to about 50 billion rand at that point in time. Looking at this particular saga, the fallout from there, how much do you think the KPMG saga cost the South African economy, and of course everything that happened prior to that? Well, in fact, I mean, it's a concoction, because remember that before that process, we knew that when, after the negate on the 9th of December, and the minister being parachuted back into that position, because remember, in the first President Zuma's term, he was the Minister of Finance and he went to corporate governance. So when he was parachuted back due to the pressure that existed by civil society as well as business, at that point in time, we've lost over 100 billion rand, particularly in the financial services sector. And subsequently, on the eve of him presenting the budget, we knew that there were charges being, or an attempt to charge him before then. So this continuation really led to a coalition that had been formed after the gate of business, labor, as well as government collapsing, because at that time, that coalition had come up with plans of inclusive growth, specifically business coming to the table saying that we're going to put about 1.5 billion rand into a young youth entrepreneurship scheme, a YES scheme, driven by Adrian Gore of Discovery. So all those attempts of really trying to get us going collapsed. So what we saw after March 31 was really a complete collapse of confidence. As a result, where we are today, despite the 2.5% growth in the second quarter, but we think going forward, we continue having teething problems because there is no hegemony in our society. Business goes its way, labor the other way. However, within business itself, as with the case of KPMG, we know that embedded in it, there are those that are involved, together with some in the state, in corrupt activities, undermining the democratic project of 1994, and therefore putting a lot of the black South Africans in poverty, with them not being able to recover for many, many years. In fact, our National Development Plan targets of 2030 of having unemployment and reducing poverty, we may just switch them away unless we take some drastic action in terms of the political economy. So, Mr. Mondi, are you then suggesting that this might even spiral more out of control and cause the economy even more harm? Very much. Remember that, I mean, our estimates indicate that countries that have been downgraded, countries where there is investor and consumer confidence, if they take the right policy choices, they're able to recover at least 7 years later. Knowing the South African government that is always believed that's got lots of time, we're seeing the shenanigans taking place at the Public Investment Corporation at the moment. So really, if you've got all these shenanigans where boards come in, CEOs then get threatened to be fired, if you continue to have that in a society, you're going to have a society that really goes down. And as it goes down, it brings the very same people that fought against apartheid, that now today their own government is pushing them back to poverty and using rhetoric such as radical economic transformation to stay in power. Now, there's a number of companies that has cut ties with KPMG already, but what does it say about SARS as the client of KPMG and, of course, the image and reputation of South Africa as a whole? Well, in fact, SARS is in a very difficult position. Remember that we have a shortfall in the first quarter of about 30 million rand. And we estimate, some of us estimate that by the year end, given the fact that the mining sector is undergoing a huge crisis due to the Mining Charter 3, given the investor confidence based on the Bureau of Market Research of Stellenbosch work, therefore we expect that that's going to take quite a while. Therefore, we expect that maybe SARS could find itself being between 50 and 100 billion shortfall by the end of the financial year, that's March 31. If that's the case, then it means that there is a huge need for SARS to look at ways of sourcing revenues. But more importantly, the citizen also having belief that the taxes that they're paying are going to be put into good use. So we're having a crisis of confidence on institutions such as SARS and others. So we need really to work harder to show the public that, you know what, yes, there are these political economy issues, yes, these things have happened. However, the institution remains intact, and the only thing that the institution can show that is by them being seen to be acting not in the interest of those that have been exposed as state capturers,
but act in the interest of the South Africa, ensuring that everyone, all institutions put South Africa first, meaning that we all commit to our constitutional values. And in committing to that, we focus strongly on redress, addressing the problems of black people who continue to be marginalized today.
Now, SARS Commissioner Tom Moyane is not very happy. He says that he wants to take KPMG to court. Is that the way to go? And how do they resolve this? Because it seems like they're clinging on to this report.
Yeah, I mean, if I were him, I wouldn't stand on podium and say I'll take you to court. If my case is so strong, there's no need for me to go to the public, is to take action. So, in fact, that whole press conference raised a lot of questions than what met the eye, where Mr. Boy, who's supposed to play an oversight role, was sitting there. So a number of us who have watched stage capture, who believe that really a lot of institutional captured for private purposes, were very skeptical about that conference. So he'll end when we see the court process taking place, we're very keen to see, because I think that reveals to us as academics the extent as to how our institutions have been destroyed for private purposes and repurposed for that. So we look forward to that court case. So I'd love to see this thing in court, because then it will give us an opportunity to have more information and to know more, so that we can say as South Africans, never again.
Reputational damage here, just not for KPMG, for other multinationals as well, and of course those working with government. Does that perhaps spell an end to the workings of government with multinationals in this country, and probably work with South African companies?
Not at all. Remember that this government that we have, firstly, has continuously used multinational. Some of them, in fact, some of the people in government, in the work that we've done around state capture and the betrayal of the promise, we have shown how a certain family worked with multinational to extract value. For example, we saw that in the case of SAP, the IT firm, that for them to get the contract, that family extracted about 10% of the value. And they work with government. So that change has to first happen within the governing party itself. It has to make changes itself to say that our cadres that we've deployed, working in the interest of our country or working for certain people. So those social changes have to take place. I think at the moment it's too early to tell whether the state will be different. The state is contestable. And at the moment we argue, some of us, that at the moment part of the state is captured by private interest. As a result, that private interest is local, is international, and is mobile. And that relationship that you've defined, whether it's going to end or not, it remains a question. And the onus is on us as academics, as civil society, to call for accountability, to say never again. We cannot have our country and our institution being stolen for private purposes.
In the end, in 30 seconds, because we're running out of time, the political economy of South Africa, can we now certainly connect the dots?
We are now very close to connecting the dots. We know who are the players. We've mapped them up in the report that we did. So we can connect the dots, but there's only one dot that we cannot connect. The dot between some of the ministers and the president. That remains very, very difficult. And we are dependent as well on that for some of the people that we've identified in the reports to come forward and give us more information. The process is set out very clearly. We've got the churches, we've got civil society. So those that don't want to come out in the media, such as this one, they can really go to the church and confess. Because for us to cleanse and change this country, the trajectory and accountability, we need people confessing. Because only then that will get to know. If people don't confess and give us information, it will all be allegation. And a number of South Africans would think that we're out looking for something that's not there. So we need those that we've identified to come forward and said, actually, I did this, I did that. Hence, that commission of inquiry that the former Prime Minister recommended has to happen as yesterday.
That was Lumkhile Monde, well, economist giving us his take on the situation. Now, you heard, of course, KPMG met with the former finance minister and his deputy, former deputy that is, and they want full disclosure from KPMG. But that story continues. Now, we've also invited the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants, SAICA, which is, of course, the professional accountancy body in South Africa, to give us their assessment of the KPMG saga, their responsibilities to it. But unfortunately, they have declined, saying that there will be a press conference later today at about 4 o'clock or so. So that's why they can't comment right now. Would have liked to have them on the show to actually announce as to what's going to happen with KPMG and what are the responsibilities of auditing firms. After the break, we'll take it shortly, just after that, but we continue with the story, because we'll speak to the convener of the Association of Black Management Consulting South Africa. We spoke to them a little bit earlier on their take on issues relating to the KPMG saga and how does it impact on small black business here in South Africa. But right now, let's take a look at your newspapers from around the globe. And we start off in New York. The Wall Street Journal reports that North Korea's foreign minister said that the country could detonate a hydrogen bomb over the Pacific Ocean in response to President Donald Trump's fiery UN speech, where he threatened to totally destroy North Korea. While moving to Australia, The Age says that Victorian doctors who assist their terminally ill patients to die could be jailed for life under the state's proposed assisted dying legislation. And then finally in China, the South China Morning Post reports that China's finance ministry this morning has hit back at the decision by S&P Global to downgrade the country's sovereign credit rating, calling it a wrong decision. Well, those are some of your newspapers from around the globe. But right now, it's time to take a short break, and we'll be right back after that, discussing KPMG, the saga, the fallout, the implications for South Africa.
Today on Rights and Recourse, we will unpack the new traditional court model.
The idea of the bill is not to overregulate, to basically set the principles.
The most important aspect of this bill is that it understands that customary law, by its nature, is consensual. That I have a right to affiliate, I have a right, therefore, to opt in, and I have a right to opt out.
The opt-out provision is basically one that you've got to respect the court in the sense of, if you've been summoned, you've got to tell the clerk of the court at least that you're not willing to attend.
The challenge that I would like to throw to the Department of Justice, it has to come up with mechanisms of ensuring that people who exercise their right to opt out or to opt in are not in any way victimized.
Hashtag Rights with Dumila Matez on legal issues every Sunday at 2 o'clock Central African Time.
Now, continuing with our theme today on the implications of the KPMG rescinded report on the so-called rogue unit at SARS, the recently launched Association of Black Management Consulting Firms of Southern Africa has raised serious concerns over the use of multinational consultant companies by government and many other companies in the country. Now, two multinational companies, McKinsey and KPMG, are currently making headlines in South Africa for all the wrong reasons. The global consultancy firm McKinsey has been outed or mentioned in a report on how they received their 1.6 billion rand payout for turnaround advice given to Eskom. The report indicated that Eskom actually ignored warnings that the contract might be illegal, but went ahead with it anyway. Now, the scandal raises questions on how the state does business with multinational companies on big projects compared to local black-owned companies. Now, we spoke to the convener of the Association of Black Management Consulting Firms of Southern Africa, Duke Mampela, on the association's thoughts on the multinational consulting companies being preferred over local companies.
Our concern as an association is that, competence is being rated as one of the main things which they say black companies ready to do these projects. And we're saying, based on what has happened with KPMG, for example, I mean, they came out straight and said, look, I mean, we basically were incompetent. I think maybe they might have been caught in a catch-22 to say they were corrupt or they were caught, they were incompetent. Same thing as McKinsey. Let's look at what the work they did at Eskom. I mean, at the very same time where they've got a 1.6 billion contract, it's the same time where we had Eskom might not be able to pay salaries, the same time where Eskom is asking for a 20% increase. If they're coming in at Eskom to save money for Eskom, we should be hearing stories how the rates might be going down, not them asking the regulator to increase the rates by 20%. So we're saying that, look, we're starting to question these multinationals' competence. And the other thing which, you know, we're saying that as black professionals is that why are we not having these opportunities? Yeah.
So it seems like South African companies, especially state-owned companies, would rather expend money to multinationals rather than save money with local companies. So this KPMG report now, how does it reflect on multinationals and their performances in South Africa?
We just think that, you know, in our view, we don't think they are any different. And even with the skills and competence, we don't think that we are any different to them. We could have we could have handled those kind of projects as well. So what we're trying to say, what we see there is that, you know, these companies are not as perfect as they're perceived to be. Be it competence, be it corruption. Although, I mean, we're not mainly here to say much about the corrupt part, but we're talking mainly about the competence part, to say that black business, black individuals, black management consulting firms are ready to handle this type of big projects. And anyway, these large multinational companies don't seem to be doing great work.
This alarm bell should have gone off with government in relation to multinationals, and perhaps you should be celebrating with a bottle of champagne right now for black companies here in South Africa, because that perhaps could give you that confidence boost for government to believe in black management companies. Is that what you are sensing?
I wouldn't say celebrate, because this is actually taxpayers' money which is going away like this with a lot of incompetence. We actually are in a we're actually in a position where we want this to be fast-tracked to implement black businesses to start doing this business. Because what we're saying is that, you see, these large multinational companies, they come to the country, they do business, they finish the state purse, and they usually just pack up and leave. You know, we are here to stay. We have more interest to make sure that things go right, things go according to plan.
No skills transfer when they leave. So what are you doing now as a black management firm in order to make sure that this actually works for smaller companies in South Africa?
You see, I'm glad you raised the part of them of no skills transfer, because they've been in the country for years, and they continuously say that, you know, black businesses are not ready. In a way, is to say that it's their fault. Why didn't they upskill black businesses to be able to take on this kind of projects? So clearly, they failed us in that part, and we cannot continue to rely on them to say that, you know, these companies, we need them to upskill us. For example, the current status is that, look, they get the project and black businesses get 30%. That is currently not working, because they don't have the appetite to upskill us so that we have the 100% and we subcontract the work to them, which is another area which we want to lobby government to look into, to say that, look, it's not working to give these companies the work 70% and say 30% must be local. They don't have the appetite to upskill.
Do we have the skills, though? And what do you, as ABMC, doing to achieve that objective that we have skilled personnel in order to perform as a consultancy?
In my experience, there's a lot of skills in the black business management consulting. In some cases, in projects which we've worked with large multinational companies, the black companies which were subcontracting had more skilled people. Black companies have skilled and experienced and qualified individuals to take on these projects, and they are ready. And the other thing, which is one of the mandate of the association, is to encourage continuous professional development in the sector. That's one other area which we will be addressing, to upskill, to continuously upskill professionals in management consulting.
Now, do you think that consulting firms are up to the challenge, though? And as the Association of Black Management Consulting Firms, will you then assist these companies to come to the fore?
Yeah, you see, mainly this company, this association is formed by a group of these firms. So these firms have the same interest. I, for example, I'm with African Proficient Management Consulting, which we share the same sentiments as to how we need to go about these projects, how we need to go. We draw a lot of skills even in various projects, which are much obviously smaller projects, but we draw a lot of skills amongst each other. So collaborating with each other is one other way which we will be looking into to tackle this kind of projects.
How far are you with regards to this mission to achieve bringing these black firms together in order to perhaps have a consolidated effect to work on big projects such as the KPMGs and McKinsey's and so forth?
Okay, what we're currently doing at this stage, I mean, we're at the point where we're just still bringing together the black firms. We hope to have our first general meeting before the end of October. And also, at that GM, the whole thing is about to relook at how we can really professionalize this area, especially as blacks, and to able to use each other's skills, how we can work together to go into this kind of projects. But anyway, the work has not stopped. We have started working. We are speaking to various government departments already on current projects which are currently being earmarked for these large multinational companies to say, look, we are also here, we are also ready. And also one other thing to mention is that, I mean, we welcome the decision by SOPA to say that they're going to call in companies such as KPMG to come and justify. But in our view, why are they even being given the opportunity to justify? They had an investigation from their own internal structures, and they said they were incompetent. Why do they still need to come to Parliament to justify why government still need to do business with them? In our view, government should just say, look, there's no way that we will still do business with yourself.
And just briefly, what is your message to small black consultancy firms out there, and how do they get in touch with you to form part of this growing giant, it seems like it's going to be?
Okay, we've got membership into the association. It's currently a free membership. It's a firm-based membership. It's not an individual membership. Membership is on. It's done online. It's on blackmcsa.org.za, www.blackmcsa.org.za, and our message is that, you know, we know that, you know, what I'm talking about now, this is something which all these firms know. They know that they're not involved in these big projects, and they want to be involved. They've got the skills, they've got the qualifications, and we're saying, let's get together, let's see what we can do. For example, it cannot be right that one organization gets a project for 1 billion, and if we estimate it, argument's sake, McKinsey had about 68 individuals working in that project. Say for argument's sake, they were paying 200,000 per consultant, which is about 163 million per annum. So the profit in that kind of project, taking their 70%, the profit in that kind of project is 500 million to one company. Most of that is going out of the country. All these black firms, if this was allocated to these black firms, we most likely will reinvest in the same country.
Beneficiation is the thing. Sir, I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
That was Duke Mpahlele, who is the convener of the Association of Black Management Consulting Firms of Southern Africa. You can go and look them up on the website. That's the fallout from the KPMG report, and of course it's ongoing. They've now met with the former finance minister and his former deputy to discuss the issues at home. But the former finance minister says they want full disclosure on KPMG, the report that was issued, and how do we move forward. Is there perhaps reparations coming for the disastrous employment that left KPMG, or the employees that left KPMG, not KPMG, SARS rather, because it had an impact on all those employees that left their employ? What do you make of it? You can also let us know what's on your mind on the Twitter handle at SABC Newsroom, as well as on the Facebook page. Talking about the Twitter handle, let's take a look at our poll today. We're looking at an issue that's very, well, it's surprising to some of us, not surprising to others. Are you surprised by Dr. Makosi Khoza's resignation from the African National Congress? Now, so far, 358 of you have voted here in South Africa and on the continent of Africa, and 89%, that's the majority of you, saying, no, we saw this coming. Dr. Khoza was not going to last, and only 11% are saying yes. We'll take a look at some of the comments coming through from you a little bit. In fact, we do have some of those comments. Let's take a quick look at what you're telling us. This one coming in from D. Nkala says, no, I'm not surprised. I think they can make a good party. That's a political party with Thuli Madonsela, Dr. Khoza, ANC, KZN. Well, a good party in that instance will be like a jiving party, but this is a political party. Malibongwe says it was long overdue. This one coming from D again says, I'm not surprised. She took a good decision to leave this corrupt ANC. I think she can be a good SA president in future. Well, what do you make of that? Perhaps a new political party, a new breakaway? Well, some say it could be a super breakaway party with Khoza, Pravin Gordhan, all those that's left on the outskirts of the leadership right now. What do you think? Well, let's take a look at what we are asking you this morning. It's Klipspruit West. That's the focus this morning. We want to know from you, what do you make of the SATU, the South African Teachers Union, Democratic Teachers Union? They are withdrawing their teachers from 30 schools in El Dorado Park as well as Klipspruit. They say there's racism involved. Others says it's not. It's about a political agenda being pushed. I would like to get your thoughts on it. Let's take a look at what you are telling us. Let's take a look. This one coming from Michael Big M says, it undermines the rights of learners, but the parents in the colored neighborhoods must stop interfering and dictating on who should be the principal. Now, you remember that story about the principal. The MEC came out and he says that the principal issue was not a racial issue because the principal that was chosen was number 4 on the list. So what do you make of that? And it says that was SATU's interference that created the sense that there was a racial incident. Now, this one coming from Colin says, when dialogue fails, action is. SATU's decision to withdraw its members will knock some sense into those bullies. But once again, that issue was not racial, Collins. Well, what do you make of that? These are some of your comments. We'll read them as we continue. But right now, it's time to take the heat off and find out what's happening with your weather. Phil Hawkins is here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very good morning to you. Let's take a look at that weather now. Isolated showers are forecast in general for South Africa's southernmost areas there. But what we're also seeing are some slightly more intense rainfall patterns throughout the southwestern and southern coastlines there of the Western Cape Province, as well as parts of KZN and the Eastern Cape Province. So slightly stronger stormy systems developing in those areas. In general, though, the southern hemisphere of Africa remaining very clear. Lots and lots of sunshine forecast for today and into tomorrow. Very similar conditions, although that low pressure system just moving away from the east coast. It's drawn that rainfall up towards South Africa's eastern coastline there, and it's causing those scattered showers to now develop through the coastlines of both the Eastern Cape as well as KZN for tomorrow. Now, moving a little bit further north, we continue to see some clear skies. The southern part of Zimbabwe might just see a little bit of cloud cover for tomorrow. But let's take a look at what's happening in your local weather for today. Cape Town, 17 degrees Celsius, isolated showers forecast for the area, scattered showers towards the Port Elizabeth area, but not quite reaching it there. So a little bit of a wet weather coming in towards the southern parts of South Africa for today. Hot conditions in the central interior as well as the northeast here with temperatures above the 30-degree mark there. And our neighbouring states expecting very similar conditions. Windhoek 33 degrees, Francistown the same. And Gaborone peaks at 34 degrees Celsius there. It's going to be a hot one in Harare with sunny skies and 29-degree maximums. And Maputo, 31 degrees, partly cloudy skies. Now, our neighbouring states, of course, in the island regions are going to receive some rather warm weather, 25 to 29-degree maximums, no rainfall at all forecast for most of these areas here. We might just see a little bit of light rainfall along the eastern coastlines of the Antananarivo area, but that cloud cover should dissipate quickly and we should see a lot of sunshine there. Nonetheless, Madagascar does expect some rainfall, so be aware of that. Now, moving on in towards, back towards the continental Africa here. Now, Kigali peaks at 29 degrees. It's going to be a hot one, but we're going to see a lot of rainfall starting to just penetrate a little bit further south there. Luanda, 27 degrees, isolated showers coming into that area there. Now, in the change of season, we do still continue to see quite a lot of rainfall extending north, as we tend to see in this time of year, into the northern parts of Mali, central interior parts of Mali there, through Nigeria, and isolated to scattered showers are forecast there. Showers and thunder showers around Ethiopia's highlands and continuing on in towards the Central African Republic's peripheries as well. Now, moving on into tomorrow, we continue to see showers and thunder showers. In fact, this time we start to see low pressure systems just off the Moroccan coastline starting to develop into rainfall in the interior. That means that Algeria's western areas are expecting just a bit of rainfall there. Again, showers and thunder showers through that central region of Central Africa. Now, taking a little bit more detailed a look, Cairo's at 35 degrees Celsius, Riyadh at 38, and Mecca at 43. Of course, we do expect some sunny skies in the northern parts there, but this all changes quickly as we move towards West Africa, where we do see a lot of sun, a lot of cloud cover, should I say, and also a lot of rainfall. This is where we're going to leave your weather for now, but stay with us here on SABC News.
What guides us? Is it something you can touch, hear, feel, or see? What leads us on to greater experiences? Is it leaders on a soapbox, spouting rhetoric for the crowd? The advice of our elders? Or is it the actions of our people? The strength of our beliefs? Or the voices of our citizens? Your country is guided by the voices of its people, and your broadcaster is dependent on your voice to guide it. Get your copy of the SABC's editorial policy and have your say.
Why is there a dispute over who is the rightful heir to the throne?
What I can say is that Masindi is a woman. She's a girl. She's a girl child. Because I think that if she was a male, there's no way that anybody was going to dispute the fact that she is the rightful heir.
Do you recognize her as your rightful heir?
Yeah, no, I would definitely say that she is my daughter. She grew up there.
What is the intention?
I want my throne.
Join me in Port Zedu live every Monday to Thursday at 17:30.
I think winter is definitely one of those seasons where you can really show off your sartorial choices. You can start from a single layer of a shirt, actually starting with thermals, build it up with the shirts. You can have beautiful knits over the shirts, like we've done with Jade.
This film tells the story of a very, very significant political figure in the struggle for freedom in South Africa, who happened to be a woman. She was Nelson Mandela's wife.
The exhibition is an exploration into black femininity. Tabitha is a woman of color, and she is exploring the historical exploitation of the black female body.
Newtown Junction Mall hosted an epic contest in the cold where 3 top South African graffiti artists battled it out for the opportunity to become the Newtown Graffiti Face-Off Master.
For your weekly dose of entertainment news, tune into Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1.
Weather seasons. In the spring, seeds take root and vegetation begins to grow. The weather is warmer and often rainy. Animals wake and return from hibernation, often with newborns. In summer, temperatures are hot and sometimes heat wave cause trouble. Maize, groundnuts, and pumpkin farming is best in summer. In the autumn, temperatures cool again, and this is the harvest season for most cultures. In the winter, temperatures are cold with snow, cold fronts, rain, and sometimes gale force winds. This is our normal way of life here in the southernmost tip of Africa, but that's not always the case, as we on occasion have severe weather like heat waves, super strong cyclones, flash floods, tornadoes, droughts, and many more. Our environment is slowly becoming unsustainable to human life due to rising global temperatures. Catch more of this weather and related issues on Whether or Not every Friday at 10 to 5 South African Standard Time.
It's the weekend, my lady. Jumbo Africa. I'm Elvis Preslin.
And I'm Kendall Bakhamat.
Now, we'll be with you until 12 o'clock today. Now, the big story today, Kendall, we're focusing on Dr. Khoza, who have resigned from the ANC as well as an MP.
Absolutely, and it seems as if the ANC is a little loath to let her go because she didn't do it the right way. But lots of fireworks around that whole story.
Of course, that is before her DC, which is supposed to take place in October, so she decided to go. So we're asking you this morning, what's your take? Here's the poll. Are you surprised by Dr. Khoza's resignation from the African National Congress?
Interesting enough, 339 votes in already, 89% of them saying no, they're not surprised.
They saw it coming, hey?
Yeah.
You saw the responses that she had over the last couple of months in relation to the African National Congress, and 11% of you are saying, yes, you are surprised. But let's take a look at what they're telling us.
Ditiro says, this is not the ANC we know. It's a get-rich-quick scheme.
Well, what do you make of that? Christian Kleinhan says, a hero of the people, exemplified by Zizi Kodwa's attacks on her without even referring to ANC corruption.
Yes, no, Christian Kleinhan said definitely singing the praises of Khoza.
Well, there you have it. People are saying there's a super breakaway party coming, but we'll keep it locked here. You'll find out more here on the Newsroom, but we're also focusing on a very important story that's developing out in Klipspruit West in El Dorado Park. The South African Teachers Union, they have pulled their teachers from 30 schools in that area.
Absolutely, like moving from high politics to things that we deal with on a daily basis here. 30 schools losing most of their teachers, if not all, because SARTU is saying they're withdrawing them because of issues in the area. We want to find out from you, what do you make of SARTU's decision to withdraw its members from the schools in the Klipspruit and El Dorado Park area?
Let's take a look at what you are telling us. This one coming from Doc Moses Villani. I'm not surprised by SARTU. They are useless anyway. They are the main reason why public schools are average.
Michael Bighamstola says it undermines the rights of learners, but the parents in the colored neighborhoods must stop interfering and dictating who should be principal.
Well, these are some of your comments. Please keep them coming. We'll read them as we continue, but we're also reflecting on Bafana, in fact, on Banyana, because they are the talk of the town.
I'm glad you brought Bafana into the picture, because the question really is, should Bafana, and maybe even the Springboks, looking at what Banyana did yesterday, 15 minutes to go, Elvis, and they pulled themselves from a 3-0 deficit to go on to win the semi-final against Zambia on penalties. What do you call that?
Well, there you have it. That's the question we want to pose to you, because it was a phenomenal performance. But let's take a look at what you are telling us.
Should Bafana and the Springboks be taking a leaf out of these ladies' book? Collins Ntelele says, I don't see that happening, because I doubt that other national teams are even aware of the existence of Banyana. Bit of a low blow, but probably true.
Atini Mbana says, yes, congrats, Banyana. Bafana must change their name to Banyana. Maybe the performance will also change. Well, there you have it. Keep them coming. We have some fun with that one. But right now, let's get down to business and take a look at your news headlines. Former ANC member Khoza says that she could still rejoin the African National Congress if it institutes charges against the President Jacob Zuma for bringing the party into disrepute. The ANC is expected to be at the center stage when the ANC NEC meets today in Pretoria. That's, of course, the ANC in KZN. They'll take center stage there. And schooling in Eldorado Park in Johannesburg and Klipspruit is expected to suffer a major setback amid SARTU's decision to withdraw its members from the area schools. Now, those are your headlines, but before we get to the news, let's find out from Kendall Makhamata what's happening on the sports stream.
Elvis, thank you very much. Before I get into the sports, this is a crucial time for learners in schools. I mean, the prelims or mock exams, as we used to call them, is round about now. The teachers should be marking, should be preparing the students for their final exams. And here they are, they're embroiled in this conflict where 30 schools will have their teachers withdrawn.
Yesterday, when we spoke to one of the concerned members in the community, they indicated that there were 10 teachers left. After the SARTU teachers left the day before already, 10 teachers left teaching the children at the Klipspruit school, and they were continuing writing. So it seems there was some normalcy there, but we'll follow up on that story.
No, thank you very much, Elvis. As you can tell, quite a serious matter is being dealt with in that Klipspruit area. Good morning to you. This is what we've got for you in the sports today.
She beats the marker. She comes with the cross. Oh my goodness! The three-time champions from an unlikely position get the equalizer.
Banyana advanced to the final of the COSAFA Women's Cup after closing down a 3-goal deficit with 15 minutes to go against Zambia, forcing a penalty shootout, which they then go on to win.
Drama here, three-time champions.
A resurgent Orlando Pride stands in Bidvest's way as the league's floundering defending champions desperately seek a way up from second to last on the log. And defending African champions Mamelodi Sundowns with a narrow 1-0 lead against Wydad Casablanca are one win away from the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League. There is, of course, a whole lot of other sport happening, including Pro 14 rugby. All this in more detail I'll have for you around about 10:40. Do stay with us as Elvis has got the news.
Thank you, Kendall. Top story this morning. Former ANC Member of Parliament Khoza says that she's willing to rejoin the ANC if it institutes charges against the President Jacob Zuma for bringing the party into disrepute. Khoza announced her resignation from the party and Parliament yesterday. She has continued to speak out against the governing party, saying that the ANC wanted to get rid of her and has accused its leadership of lacking principles.
If the ANC could charge Comrade Jacob Zuma first, because, you know, this thing of being exemplary is very important. Start with the head. If they can charge him for bringing the name of the ANC into disrepute, if they want me to help them with the charges, I will help them formulate them. I will, because I've read that constitution. You know, I will, actually, the whole Rule 25, Comrade Zizi, I've read. Yeah. And I can tell you exactly which rule the president has broken consistently. Okay. And if they do that, and they begin to charge people who are bringing the name of the ANC into disrepute, and not to charge people who are trying to save the ANC, I will go back to the ANC.
In the same interview with SABC News, Dr. Khoza said that she's relieved that she finally took that decision to resign from the ANC. However, she says it's one of the hardest things she has had to do.
In fact, it's the ANC that molded my moral conscience. It's the ANC that built my moral character. But however, the current ANC leadership is not in sync with the kind of person that I am. Mm-hmm. They don't allow open, you know, to discuss challenges of the organization openly. The organization is evidently on a downward spiral, but the comrades are so much in denial. They keep on saying address the issues within, as if within it's easy to address the issues.
Yeah.
They are so intolerant of divergent views, and that's the biggest problem of the ANC. You are easily labeled, you are easily told you are handled. I mean, even Zizi Kodwa has been saying, I'm handled, I am this, they know I'm being handled by somebody.
Well, the ANC national spokesperson, Zizi Kodwa, says that the party had treated Dr. Khoza fairly. Speaking to SABC News earlier this morning, Kodwa disputed perceptions that she had been targeted and hounded out of the party because of her gender.
Many of the people who have ventilated the same issues that she has raised in public, many of whom have done so courageously, internally so, whilst they've also raised those issues in public. You're talking about many other members of the NEC have been bold enough, who have ventilated issues in Parliament. They've come to the NEC of the ANC to repeat the same issues they've raised. That is the courage and bravery we want from any member of the ANC, and we encourage that. So she has received fair treatment equal to other members.
Now, remaining with Dr. Khoza's resignation, the ANC presidential hopeful Lindiwe Sisulu says that Makosi Khoza's resignation is a blow to the party. The Gauteng ANC chair, Paul Mashatile, also agrees that Khoza's exit is a loss to the party. Now, they were speaking on the sidelines of a housing summit on Gauteng's East Rand.
I would have wanted Makosi Khoza to have the same kind of attitude towards the problems that she's experiencing. I would have wanted her to hold out, because we need people like her. I would have wanted her to hold up and continue the fight. The fight to ensure that the ANC is indeed the only option for the people of South Africa depends on us constantly accepting criticism and self-criticism. I don't know the circumstances under which she resigned, but I am regretful that she has resigned.
ANC is an organization that all of us join voluntarily. So if anybody wishes to leave, there's nothing we can do. But I don't think it's correct to say the ANC as an organization is a corrupt organization. You may have challenges with certain individuals, but the ANC as an organization, in fact, has been at the forefront of fighting corruption. There are good men and women in the ANC, and I think they will be able to continue to strive to ensure that the ANC deals with these challenges, whether it's state capture, corruption, and so on. I don't think we should give up.
Now, the ANC's Special National Executive Committee meeting will get underway in Irene in Pretoria today. Now, among some of the issues, it's expected to discuss the ruling of the High Court in Pietermaritzburg, which nullified the 2015 KwaZulu-Natal elective conference. The court gave the provincial leadership 15 days in which to appeal. Confusion is raging after the current KZN leadership announced that it would appeal the ruling. ANC Secretary-General Gwede Mantashe has said only the NEC would make such a decision. Former Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan and his former Deputy Mcebisi Jonas are demanding a full disclosure of the role that various parties played and the way in which staff of the auditing firm KPMG colluded during the compilation of the SARS report. The two met with KPMG's global chairperson John Weimeyer as well as other senior executives. Their meeting followed the auditing firm's withdrawal of its report on the so-called rogue unit at SARS. 8 KPMG executives have resigned. Weimeyer has apologized, saying that the firm's local branch made serious errors in judgment. Now, continuing with that theme today that we're focusing on, of course, we're asking you a question surrounding the issue of KPMG. Let's focus on KPMG. The Standing Committee on Public Accounts chairperson, Themba Gowdy, has confirmed that his committee may recommend that government cut ties with the beleaguered auditing firm KPMG. Gowdy says that the Public Accounts Committee wants to call the company to Parliament over its withdrawal of a report for the South African Revenue Service, SARS. He says that KPMG must justify why it should continue doing business with the state. He's sitting with us in studio now, the Standing Committee on Public Accounts Chairperson, Mr. Themba Gowdy. Very good morning to you, sir, and welcome.
Thank you very much.
First and foremost, I would like to get your thoughts on, you are recommending as your committee that government cut ties with the beleaguered company, KPMG. Why?
Well, we're not recommending yet. It is a possibility. We have said that we would want to have a public and frank discussion with KPMG, and we are busy processing that those arrangements. As you know, by next week, annual reports are going to be flooding into Parliament, and private audit firms do play a significant role in the financial management within departments and SOEs. And so it might be that we'll be coming across reports that were done by KPMG, either in assisting with auditing or asset management, or having been contracted to do particular reviews. And the big question that arises for us is, how do we relate to those reports? Because, you know, audit firms basically provide two things: expertise and trust. And on these, we then have question marks. And it is for that purpose that we feel, let's have a conversation. Let's give them a platform to talk to us and say to us, look, we still have credibility, so that going forward we can do so with confidence.
Will that clear your conscience and the conscience of the committee, perhaps, and perhaps open up the door for them to continue doing business in South Africa?
Look, I'm aware that there are possibly a number of initiatives, all of them focusing on KPMG. I think the regulatory body will be reporting to Parliament on Tuesday about their investigations, I think, into KPMG and Deloitte. We have also seen the Association of Chartered Accountants also weighing in and all that kind of stuff. But I think from our side, because we do oversight, we work with money, and a lot of work done by private audit firms. Only last week, we were at SA Express, and in our engagements, we became aware KPMG is having a contract at SA Express. When we're dealing with the IFMS saga at National Treasury, KPMG was one of the companies that got irregular payments. And now you have all this. Now they raise questions about the integrity of KPMG and how we should relate to the work that they do. So we would like those to be cleared for us as Parliament, independent of what anybody else may want to do.
Now, looking at the scope of work that they do and the type of work that they do, there seems to be almost the order of the day that government would rather do business with multinationals rather than local businesses. Is that the case? And what does it say about radical economic transformation?
I think you must call the advocates of radical economic transformation to unpack it beyond mere sloganeering in practical terms. Yes, KPMG is one of the big four, I would say, multinational auditing firms that we have in the country, who are actually raking in hundreds of millions, of rands annually from government work. If they had nothing to do with government work or public money, wouldn't mind, would wait for other people to, to engage with them. But to the extent that from municipalities, provinces, national, parliament, even constitutional institutions are engaging them, we need to be satisfied that we're engaging a company that, we can trust.
As the committee, what do you think was the damage caused and perhaps also the impact of the now recalled KPMG report on the SARS rogue unit?
Well, let me start by saying that, by calling KPMG, we're not taking sides on the SARS internal files and issues and whatever. I think I'm still struggling to comprehend the logic and ask myself if this was a French or German tax authority, would KPMG have behaved or treated them the way they did in South Africa, or having a colonial attitude? This is Africa, so we can just behave any other how. Now, talking about impact, therefore, I think it's something that that is why in our engagements we also want to call National Treasury, the Finance Ministry, to say, unpack this thing for us. What does it mean? What does it say? So that we don't have these kind of things happening willy-nilly. There has to be consequences. The same way that we're always pushed and called upon to ensure there are consequences when public servants or people in the public service do a lot of wrong things. We equally want to see the same vigor and energy directed at at multinationals.
Talking about consequences, what sort of sanction do you think KPMG should face in the country?
Look, I wouldn't want to preempt the processes, but if you lose trust, I think it is the worst thing you can lose more than any, because once you lose trust, it means that the ability of the state to engage with you becomes very, very limited, if not zero. So at the end of the process, we'll need to ask ourselves, can we still trust KPMG? Can government still trust KPMG? And if they don't, what does it mean? If they still do, well, it will be business as usual. But I would imagine that a lot of harm has been done, not so much because of SARS or of what has happened to SARS, but just the general and broad picture vis-a-vis, the public, parliament, and KPMG. I think that's why we want a frank and honest public engagement to try and clear the air if it is possible. But equally, if we can't, we should also be able to say, you know what, we have discussed these things, we think this is the end of the road.
As the Committee on Public Accounts, what is your message to auditing firms or even multinationals and other companies in the country doing business with the state?
Look, we have seen very questionable conduct by Deloitte at National Treasury, which they have, I think, reported to the regulatory body. There are other firms that I would not want to name whose conduct really clearly demonstrate that the profit motive has actually poisoned their consciences. And that is why, instead of talking about them, I want to focus more on the state. That's why we're talking about the need for a capable state. The state must ensure that it has sufficient capacity to run its affairs and not rely on multinationals who, in the absence of proper project management, go in and just do as they please, and end up taking the public for granted and behaving in any other way. So it has more to do with us. It has more to do with the state asserting itself and ensuring that it's not taken for a ride by these companies.
We also talked to a number of black business, and they said even when these companies come in, these multinationals, there is no skills transfer given to government or even to companies here. Does that then imply that there need to be greater cooperation between local businesses and multinationals?
Look, we have been very consistent in decrying the over-reliance on consultants. Of course, political freedom without economic power is meaningless. It's mere neo-colonialism. So that should be the starting point. So the empowerment of local businesses, whether you're talking in the auditing fraternity, whether you're talking in the health fraternity, or whether you're talking in the legal space, you find that our government is so lagging behind. It's almost as if these simple realities just don't exist in their space. So I fully agree, not only in terms of skills, but also in terms of, 23 years down the line, surely there should be certain things that we are able to do for ourselves and only seek out those specialist skills on a temporary basis, not on a permanent basis, in terms of ensuring that locals are involved, but are gradually in charge. The same way that we have political power, so should we have economic power. And I think the role that SCOPA plays is to ensure that wherever public money is utilized, especially in relation to private business, it is to assist the state, to empower the state, but also to ensure that our own people locally benefit.
It's all about beneficiation, Mr. Gordy.
Thank you very much.
I thank you so much for your time and joining us here in studio.
Sure.
That was the Standing Committee on Public Accounts Chairperson, Mr. Themba Gordy. And on behalf of the South African public and the SABC, we'd like to thank you for the good job that you're doing as the chairperson there.
Sure. Thanks.
There you have it. Well, let's move on now to other news. Klipspruit schooling in Eldorado Park in Johannesburg is expected to suffer a major setback today. South African Democratic Teachers Union, SATU, says that it will withdraw all of its members from the Eldorado Park and Klipspruit West schools from this morning over allegations of racism. That move was prompted by the ongoing tension between black and colored teachers in Klipspruit West Secondary School, which the MEC, as you can recall, Panyasa Lesufi, found was not a racial incident. This week, 11 black teachers walked out over accusations of misconduct by parents, which they say is a witch hunt and a ploy to have them removed.
SATU says it has had enough and claims the department has failed to adequately address the plight of black teachers at Klipspruit West Secondary School.
As SATU and the Eldorado Park branch, we need to do something to put pressure to Lesufi and them. Because this matter should have been long resolved.
In July, the school was dogged by racial tensions after coloured parents refused to have a black principal head the institution. This week, there were fresh tensions when community members refused teachers, majority black, from entering the school over allegations of assaulting pupils.
No teacher must be reporting elders. If the director is not moving, we are going to withdraw our labor face service as teachers. And then after that, it will be learners.
The DA says learners will be hit hard.
You can see the tensions at the school.
Yeah.
The school, learners are the ones who are affected. And we are more concerned about the learners because the future of these learners cannot be jeopardized because of the fight between either the union and the department.
SATU members will now report to district officers. The decision means that 324 teachers will be withdrawn from 30 schools in the Eldorado Park area, a move that could jeopardize the sitting preliminary examinations. Exams are expected to continue till the end of September. Criselda Lewis, SABC News in Eldorado Park, Johannesburg.
Now, shortly, we will be speaking to the Gauteng Education Department spokesperson, Steve Mabona, on the latest with regards to the story and the teachers being removed from the schools in Eldorado Park and Klipspruit. So you have to stay tuned. We'll give you an update on that shortly. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back after that. By the way, just to remind you that we're asking you the question, of course, today, in relation to the Klipspruit saga. What do you make of all of this? And I'd like to get your thoughts on the Twitter handle as well as on the Facebook page. There's it on your screen right now. What do you make of SATU withdrawing those teachers from 30 schools in the area? Do we have any comments coming through? If there is, I'll take them now. If we can see if we can get some of those so we can read some of those. Well, there's nothing right now, but we'll come back with more after this.
What guides us? What leads us forward? Is it the advice of our elders? Is it the actions of our people? Or the voices of our citizens? Your country is guided by the voices of its people, and your broadcaster is dependent on your voice to guide it. Get your copy of the SABC's editorial policy and have your say.
Well, a very good morning and welcome to AM News Live at 10:00 hours across all Central Africa regions.
A fitting send-off for a revolutionary giant, a life dedicated in service of the people.
The result means that the Swallows are out of the ABC Multiple League and drop to the amateur fourth tier of South African football, the SAB League.
Tune in on AM News every Saturday and Sunday from 10 hours.
Well, welcome back to the newsroom. Let's now go to Zimbabwe. Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe has likened United States President Donald Trump to the biblical Goliath, who threatens the extinction of other countries.
The President of the Republic of Zimbabwe.
It was a precarious approach to the lectern. The 93-year-old leader unsteady on his feet, but not in word, reminding the Assembly that his government was a strong advocate for the sovereignty of nations.
Some of us were embarrassed, if not frightened, but what appeared to be the return of the biblical giant called Goliath. Are we having a return of Goliath to our midst, who threatens the extinction of other countries?
He urged his United States counterpart to recognize the values of unity, peace, cooperation and togetherness, and not the promise of damnation.
Damnation we shall always resist, no matter whence it comes. We have resisted it when it was in the form of imperialism, as we fought for our own independence, our own culture, our own sovereignty to be masters of our own destiny. That's why we call ourselves free today. It is because the monster of imperialism was defeated by us. Bring us another monster, by whatever name, he will suffer the same consequences.
He called the 2030 development agenda a new wine and expressed his country's unflinching support for Security Council reform.
Mr. President, the overwhelming majority of us have accepted that we need to reform the current system in order to improve but not destroy it. Nonetheless, the negotiations and process intended to yield the accepted reforms are painstakingly slow. We are left to wonder, justifiably so, whether those who enjoy and sometimes abuse the power and privileges of the current setup are sincere interlocutors in these discussions.
He urged the Security Council to enforce its resolutions, particularly in relation to the situations of the peoples of Western Sahara and Palestine.
This was the first time in many years of speeches at the General Assembly that President Mugabe did not directly call for the lifting of targeted sanctions against members of his government and inner circle. And although he clearly struggles to walk the world's oldest head of state, was still able to deliver some punches, and in the process had many in the room smiling and applauding, if only at the punchlines. Sherman Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.
One of those punchlines that Trump must go blow his trumpet somewhere else. Couldn't keep my laugh there. But in international news now, more serious news. Mexico is still waiting anxiously for signs of life in the rubble of the collapsed buildings as a desperate search for survivors of the devastating earthquake enters a fourth day. Authorities have put the death toll from Tuesday's quake at 273 people, with the number expected to rise. Volunteer rescue workers fought off growing fatigue to continue removing tons of rubble at dozens of flattened buildings in the capital and across several central states. But time is running out. Experts say the average survival time in such conditions, and depending on injuries, is 72 hours. Some 200 people are still reported missing in Mexico City and fear trapped in the rubble. And on a lighter note, the Steve Tshwete local municipality in Mpumalanga has honored Ndebele artist Esther Mahlangu. Mahlangu was born 81 years ago in Middelburg in Mpumalanga. She is now the municipality's heritage and cultural ambassador.
Celebrated at her home a few days after being honored with a mural dedicated to her work in New York, Esther Mahlangu urged the youth to follow in her footsteps.
They must preserve their culture, dress accordingly, and know that I painted, and that is what saw me going overseas, to places I never thought I would travel. I want them to follow in my footsteps and know their roots and teach handwork. They will fly just like me. When I sing in Ndebele, I am sending positive messages to the youth so that they can learn their culture and travel the world like me and not use drugs.
Icon of the Ndebele culture, the Steve Tshwete municipality has made Mahlangu their cultural and heritage ambassador.
She has achieved is so amazing, it is so immense, and we believe that the first wealth, it is your identity, which is why we are actually utilizing her to inspire young people in particular. And
Mahlangu also runs an art school.
Gogo Mahlangu has appealed for sponsorship to build a proper school, as her place where she was teaching youth has run out and she cannot take any more students. Sibongile Mkani Mpolweni, SABC News in Middelburg, Mpumalanga.
What guides us? What leads us forward? Is it the words of our sacred texts? Is it the actions of our people? Or the voices of our citizens? Your country is guided by the voices of its people, and your broadcaster is dependent on your voice to guide it. Get your copy of the SABC's editorial policy and have your say.
Good morning, welcome back. My name is Kendall Makhamate. Time for the sports now. Our big story for today is how South Africa has advanced to the final of the Khoza Women's Cup in Bulawayo in dramatic fashion. Banyana came back from 3-0 down with 15 minutes to play to take the semi-final clash against Zambia to a penalty shootout. Leandra Smeda scored a brace before Rhoda Mlaudzi levelled matters. Banyana won 5-3 on penalties to make it to their 5th consecutive Khoza final. They will face the host Zimbabwe, who beat Kenya 4-0.
Banyana Banyana put on a reasonable performance on the day. However, it was not good enough to break down their opponents in the first half. The opposition was not poor either. Their main strategy was to play long aerial passes. It paid off midway through the first half. Zambia scored in the 20th minute. Grace Chanda connected well with a cross from the left to put Zambia in the lead. Chanda completed a brace on the stroke of halftime with a powerful shot on the edge of the box. Zambia's third came in the 75th minute through Rahel Zulu. When they thought to have sealed victory, Banyana struck back. Leandra Smeda scored her brace in quick succession before a Roda Mlauzi equalizer with 6 minutes remaining.
Pulls one back for Banyana, it will give them a bit of hope. Here is Kakana now, breaking away for Banyana. She beats the marker, she comes with the cross. Oh my goodness! It's the substitute, Roda Mlauzi, the three-time champions from an unlikely position, get the equalizer.
We came back into the dressing room, spoke about those three things, spoke about playing for this. If not for anything, playing for this, because we did not play in the first half at all. We allowed them to do what they wanted to. We kept giving the ball away. We didn't find the players in our team who could do damage, and players needed to step up, especially the senior players. Then they scored a third goal, but we always believe that if we get one back, the momentum will shift, and this group is special. They deserve all the credit for the fight back and putting their bodies on the line and getting the victory, because I said to them, there's a lot of people back home who are counting on us, our sponsors, Cecil, SAFA, and the fans, and we need to do it for this badge, and that's what they did today.
Overall, South Africa battled throughout the tournament, but with such fighting spirit, it's enough motivation for the final.
It's how badly they want it, and that is what I said to them. It's how badly do you want this at halftime? How badly, if you're not ready to play and you feel you can't go on, tell me. Tell me, we have a special group here, and that's exactly what they did. And we just want to absorb the moment. We just want to celebrate the moment for today, and we'll worry about the final starting tomorrow.
We've always wanted to go through to the finals. Now in the finals, it's the do or die again. We knew that this game was not going to be easy. Once we get through this game, then we'll see when we get to the final. So I'm very proud of the team. We all happy. We all very proud of one another. It shows that if we together as a team, then nothing can come against us.
Banyana Banyana will play in the final on Sunday. Lebantube, SABC News, Bulawayo, Zimbabwe.
Now, players from Bidvest have admitted that it's tough, that things have not been working out for them since the start of the season. The Absa Premiership defending champions are still without a win after 5 matches and are currently second from the bottom of the log with a mere 2 points. The club's biggest downfall so far in the season has been conceding too many goals.
Many options here.
Bidvest have the worst defensive record in the league. They have conceded in every game since the beginning of the season. The students have let in 10 goals in the Absa Premiership, scoring just 4 times. Vets failed to defend their MTN 8 title after conceding 5 goals in 3 games of this competition. This weekend, they host the high-flying Orlando Pirates.
For now, it's difficult, I won't lie to you, and it's painful for us, we as players, as well as the technical team. But we will try by all means to be positive and keep going. From the beginning of the season, we've been trying, but things are not going the way we want. So I think it's all about hard work.
But it's the opposite with Kaizer Chiefs, who are aiming to climb the ladder. Amakosi have scored in each and every game in the league so far this season, conceding just 4 goals.
It's just for us now to stay grounded, to keep level-headed, and also looking to improve in all departments of our game, in all positions. And the most challenging thing right now for us is to the standard that we have set, to keep up with that standard. You know, the Amakosi way, with the energy, with the culture, with the passion.
Meanwhile, the 2 Pretoria clubs will be flying the South African flag high in the CAF Interclub competitions. SuperSport will be away to Zambian outfit Zesco United in the Confederation Cup, and Mamelodi Sundowns will have to overcome Raja Casablanca in the Champions League in Morocco.
We know how it will be difficult in Morocco, and we need to
work extremely hard because we're playing a very good team, quality team that was knocked out in the semi-finals by Zamalek, and we know what they can do. So for us, it's all about fighting harder because this time around there's a quarter-final which was not there last year, and we need to put a lot of effort into getting the results.
A win for both Sundowns and SuperSport will see the two clubs advance to the semi-finals of their respective competitions. Sfeso Ramara, SABC News, Johannesburg.
And so let's bring it a little closer to you and have a look at what's happening in terms of fixtures for the weekend in the ABSA Premiership. As you can see tonight, we've got Cape Town City against Polokwane City. Benny McCarthy trying to see if he can revive the momentum that they had from the beginning of the season at home against Polokwane. 8 p.m. kickoff tonight. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. we've got Baroka FC hosting Ajax Cape Town at the Peter Mokaba Stadium. Then Bidvest, who've shipped 6 more goals than they have scored so far against the Orlando Pirates, who need to up their scoring rate as well. They've only got 3 to the good, 4 goals to the good, and shipping in 1 to see if they can get themselves to first position, currently sitting on 11 points. Then Kaizer Chiefs up against Golden Arrows. This would have been the match of the weekend had it not been for Wits's poor performances so far, whereas Kaizer Chiefs up against Golden Arrows were currently leading the log, and it's been a long time since the KZN team led the log for so long. AmaZulu FC against Platinum Stars at the King Zwelithini Stadium at 8:15 p.m. on Saturday night. Then on Sunday in the afternoon at the Nelson Mandela Bay is where Chipa United, with their new coach, will be up against Bloemfontein Celtic. Now, talk a little bit about rugby, where Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa will lead a high-level delegation to London this weekend for South Africa's bid presentation to World Rugby for the right to host the 2023 Rugby World Cup. Ramaphosa will lead the delegation at the request of President Jacob Zuma, who's in New York at the United Nations General Assembly until Monday. The Deputy President is expected to be accompanied by Sports Minister Thulas Nxesi and his Deputy Gert Oosthuizen, as well as the President of South African Rugby, Mark Alexander, and Yuri Roux, the SARU CEO. The South African government has already signed off on all guarantees needed to host the tournament, and South African Rugby believes that the country's bid is technically and commercially compelling. The South African presentation will take place on Monday in Kensington. World Rugby will announce the host of the 2023 Rugby World Cup on the 15th of November. The other 2 countries in the running are Ireland and France. Now, Southern Kings coach Dion Davids announced his team for Saturday's Pro 14 clash against Italian outfit Zebre in Port Elizabeth. Michael Willemse remains as captain, and these 2 teams have never played each other, ever. So Saturday's clash is uncharted water for both teams.
After 3 straight losses, the Kings are more determined than ever to chalk up a first one in the competition. Both teams are currently last on the log for their respective conferences. The Kings have started strong in their previous 3 encounters, but faded in the second halves.
It's been our first normal week in a long time, so I think we've had some good sessions here and there. Obviously stuff that we can still work on, but we had some time to work with a broader squad, and also to really work on some detail that we wanted to ensure that we want to improve on for this week. We will have to be on song and not have a situation where we again play 2 halves, 2 different halves. I think we need to put the 2 halves together now and ensure that we play 80-minute rugby.
Zebra are known for their physicality.
The European side seem to do the basics very well, and they keep coming with their forwards. So we've had to front up a lot more. So yeah, I think but that's something us as South Africans are, we love that. So yeah, we've just got to make that right mindset and go into the game with that physical, the physical mindset. Yeah.
Fly-off Kurt Coleman has been ruled out for 4 weeks due to a quad injury. Kim Daniels, SABC News, Port Elizabeth.
Now, South African tennis has been doing extremely well recently, from Davis Cup successes where we beat Denmark over the weekend to be promoted to the Group 1 Euro Africa stage, followed by great tennis by Kevin Anderson, where he got himself to the US Open final. Well, Raven Klaasen spoke to Simon Burke on Sports Live last night from our Seapoint studios, and Simon started by having a chat with him and asking him how South African tennis can capitalize on the purple patches going through to sustain the revival and growth of the sport in South Africa. Here it is.
Unfortunately, professional sports is always a challenge. You know, you've got a little moment here in time where you have an opportunity to jump on this momentum. And I think the best thing you can do here is to kind of like plant the seed that this is possible, which has been done, I think, and then kind of use this momentum to build up and inspire some of the younger generation. Because what we really need is a bunch of talent to be recognized and then have the desire and motivation and the belief that they can do it. You know, and I think when you see other people do it, that belief grows.
I mean, I grew up with Wayne Ferreira, you know, as a name, and I think now the next generation has the Raven Klaasen, the Kevin Anderson. Are you sensing that next generation is there knocking on the door, waiting to kick the door down?
Yeah, I think that our junior structures in South Africa are getting stronger, and they're laying a good foundation for future tennis players. What we really need to do is, like I said, try to keep that light hot and keep the fire burning and making sure that we don't sort of get complacent now that things are starting to move in the right direction, because again, this is not an easy sport to make it in, but it's very possible, and we kind of need everybody's input and everybody's efforts and experience to help the next generation come through. And whatever I can do to kind of play my part, I'll gladly do that.
Well, we see that it's either Israel or Romania for you guys next, February of next year, and the possibility that Kevin Anderson could come and play some Davis Cup tennis. That must be an exciting prospect as well for the setup.
Oh, yeah, certainly. The idea that he could possibly line up for us would be spectacular. We're not sure who we play against, but regardless, having Kevin on the team would make us significantly stronger, and given how well he's playing, that would be obviously beneficial for us as a team. Having said that, you know, we've got a good thing going here, and whether he plays or not, we'll come prepared and be ready to face whoever we face. And I think, fortunately, the tie is most likely going to be in South Africa, given that we've just been promoted. So that's a bonus.
I mean, I hate to ask the question, but it seems like a very tight-knit team. Perhaps Kevin Anderson coming in, there's not the possibility he might disrupt the equilibrium or the good thing, as you said, that you got going?
It's unlikely. I mean, when you look at what Kevin's doing and on tour and the quality and the level of tennis that he brings, that's only an asset to have as part of your team. And I think all of us understand the situation that we're in. You know, he'll make not only the team better, but he'll make all of us better being around him. So, like I said, it'll be an asset for us to have him. And you know, if he can bring something to the team that takes us to the next level, we're all for it.
Well, it's exciting times, as I said, in South African tennis. But what of yourself? What does the rest of the year bring? We caught up with you after the ATP finals when you guys finished runner-up with Rajiv Ram. How's 2017 looking like it's going to unfold for you?
Yeah, we've got a tough stretch here to the end of the season. We've actually in a close race to get back to London to the World Tour Finals. We're currently number 9 in the race, and the top 8 go. So we've got a little bit of work to do this end of the season. I've got 5 more events before the end of the season, so we need one big push here to kind of solidify our spot there, and then hopefully I can put my name in that hat again. And we had a good start to the season 2017, picked up a big title in Indian Wells, and then US Open didn't quite go according to plan, but it's been a good year, and we're in a good position to end strong.
It's Raven Klaasen talking to us about exactly what needs to happen to keep the trajectory on the up in South African tennis. That's where we leave with the sport. It's time now for the weather forecast.
I think winter is definitely one of those seasons where you can really show off your sartorial choices. You can start from a single layer of a shirt, actually starting with thermals, build it up with the shirts. You can have beautiful knits over the shirts, like we've done with Jay.
This film tells the story of a very, very significant political figure in the struggle for freedom in South Africa, who happened to be a woman. She was Nelson Mandela's wife.
The exhibition is an exploration into black femininity. Tabitha is a woman of color, and she is exploring the historical exploitation of the black female body.
Newtown Junction Mall hosted an epic contest in the cold where 3 top South African graffiti artists battled it out for the opportunity to become the Newtown Graffiti Face-Off Master.
For your weekly dose of entertainment news, tune into Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1.
These are the dusty streets of Winterveld in Soshanguve, where people thought nothing good can come out of it. Noma Mahlango started a youth development project to change everyone's perception about her community. This is her story.
The community project of Golden Youth Club, it started in 2001. And then when it started, it didn't even have a name. I was just doing homeworks with them and motivating my peers to say, we come from Winterveld. Everyone says Winterveld, only people who are coming from Winterveld they are thugs, and there's nothing good that it's coming from my area.
This project blossomed from its inception.
We entered some competition, and then immediately when we started to enter the competition, we won the competition that we were entering. Like it started, our project, like as long as it started, in terms of being recognized. We got one event, the first event, it was in school at Lesola. When we come out, there was someone who was waiting for us, and then someone recognized it from City of Tshwane. Her name is Sharon Kruger, and she said, no, I like this project, and then started to find out about us, and then teaching me how to do the constitution. This is an organization. You need to register. We're like, really? Say, you need to register this. Golden Club in our project out too. No? One project is for performing art, music, dance, theater, anything that's called performing art. This is what we are doing. We do some exchange. We go to Germany and then have some conferences, and we share what we have learned. This year we went 3 times to Germany. The last person that will be going, it's me. Within 2 weeks' time, I'm going for the preparation year next year. And then we have volunteers that are coming here for the whole year. And then our kids, they go, maybe one go to Germany for the whole year and learn about culture. And they also learn. When the Germans comes here, they stay in township. They eat what we eat. They do what we do. They don't need special treatment. It's like they are here to learn our culture. As much as when you go to Germany, you have to learn the language.
We asked Norma about the future plans for the Golden Youth Club.
The future plans, a project here to Tina Esi, Funa Uguyenza, is to build the youth center. I have a plan, youth center, which is including AMA dormants, because we call it youth hostel. Due to Sienzama exchange programs, the Germans were willing to help somehow in order to build the structure, but we applied for the land for the long time, but we couldn't. So if we can find the land for for building EU Center yet, because EU Center yet it has like computer center, library, and it has the dormants, it has a small theater, and then in a site recycling project. This is a job creation, and then those young people who couldn't find the jobs, they can work within that project. It's something that it's big. It's a bigger vision, and then it can stay forever. So in this is fiso same senhlizweni yamanje. If ungasasucceed logo, then I sing a maning imi.
It's the final hour, Jumbo Africa, here on the Newsroom, of course, just before the long weekend. It's the weekend, my lady.
Yes, it's almost weekend, and it's 5 to the o'clock.
I'm Elvis Preslin.
I'm Kendall Makama.
We'll be with you until 12, but today we focus on Dr. Khoza. She resigned from the ANC, yes. Kendall.
Yes, she has, and a lot's been said about her resignation. A lot of people were not that surprised, but that's also part of what we're asking you today. However, the fireworks have been spewing ever since we heard that she resigned.
So here's the poll, because we're asking you, what do you make of all of this, and are you surprised by her resignation? So far, Kendall, 441 votes in.
Yes, 21 hours left on this poll. 88% of you out there are saying, no, you're not surprised at all that Dr. Khoza resigned from the ANC.
Well, you're also tweeting us on the same subject. Let's take a look at what you're telling us.
Lungelo comes in with, it was long overdue. That's all I can say.
Well, this one coming from Mpo says, the way she was treated was unfair. Is it a crime to speak your mind in South Africa, especially if you are an MP, a minister, a member of parliament? Well, these are some of the questions that you pose and the comments that you give us here this morning. But we're also asking you a question. We focus on the South African Democratic Teachers Union. Now, they've decided, Kendall, that they're going to take 30 schools, no, 30 teachers at 30 of the schools in Eldorado Park and Klipspruit. They're going to take them out.
Yes.
And it's going to have an impact.
Absolutely will have an impact, especially when you consider what time of the year it is, prelims, mock exams, if you will, being written, being marked, getting ready for finals. What do you make of the SATU decision to withdraw members from 30 schools in Klipspruit and Eldorado Park?
We'll have the spokesperson from the department in studio in a short while. But here's what you are telling us. Let's take a look. Wayne Vivier says, I'm not a member, but I'm a teacher. It is NB to realize that teachers have rights too, and the way they are treated, the hours put in, it's not right, says Wayne Vivier.
Matilda Malope says, this is hypocritical. As in Black Township schools, the same SATU National Block blocks entries of anyone who's not from there. My ANC is compromised, says Matilda.
Well, there you have it. These are some of your comments. Keep them coming. We'll read them as we continue, but we're also focusing on a positive development.
Oh, yes.
In sports for a change. Oh, yes. Banyana Banyana.
Yes, we're celebrating football for once in South Africa. And here, Banyana Banyana have done it and through to the final up against the host, Zimbabwe on the weekend after coming back from 3-0 down to then beat Zambia 5-3 on penalties. Phenomenal stuff from them.
So that's why we're asking you this morning, what do you make and other teams, our national sides, Bafana, perhaps the Springboks? What about them? Hey, can they take a leaf out of and some inspiration from Banyana Banyana? You are tweeting us. Let's take a look.
Well, I've got Proudly Koi say, thank you, Banyana. You know, you can feel the palpable relief there. You made us proud. I hate Bafana and Springboks are taking a cue from you. Go all the way, Banyana Banyana, says Proudly Koi.
Sashoka says, yes, they are always at their best, on their best form. But this time, It is an historical effort, a wonderful performance indeed by the girls, the righty girls, some would say.
Yeah, I know. They've done extremely well, done themselves proud to do what they've done and get themselves to a final one. Everybody else would have given up hope on them.
Oh, that's your comments, and those are some of the questions that we posed to you today. But right now, let's get down to business and take a look at your news headlines. Former ANC member Khoza says that she could still rejoin the ANC if it institutes charges against the President Jacob Zuma for bringing the party into disrepute. The ANC KZN is expected to be at the center stage during the ANC NEC meeting that is currently underway in Pretoria. And schooling in El Dorado Park in Johannesburg is expected to suffer a major setback amid SATU's decision to withdraw its members from the area's schools. Now, those are all your headlines, and before we get to the news, let's find out from Kendo Makamate what's happening on the sports front.
Elvis, thank you very much. You know, somebody might be fooled into thinking that we're only covering football today, but you know what? The big news really is about what's happening in the world of football. Yes, there's tennis. Yes, there's a whole lot happening in the world of rugby, but football is the big deal right now.
There you go.
Yes, good morning to you. Letting you know ahead of the time what we've got for you today.
She beats the marker. She comes with the cross. Oh my goodness! The three-time champions from in a nightly position get the equalizer.
Banyana advanced to the final of the COSAFA Women's Cup after closing down a 3-goal deficit with 15 minutes to go against Zambia, forcing a penalty shootout, which they then go on to win.
Drama here. Three-time champions.
And the resurgent Orlando Pirates stands in bits his way as the league's floundering defending champions desperately seek a way up from second to last on the log. And defending African champions Mamelodi Sundowns, with a narrow 1-0 lead against Wydad Casablanca, are one win away from the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League. All this in more detail, including our news about what's happening in the world of rugby, I'll have for you at about 11:35. Do stay with Elvis, as he's got a very interesting part to take you through right now.
Well, thank you, Kendall. Now, schooling in El Dorado Park in Johannesburg is expected to suffer a major setback today. The South African Democratic Teachers Union says that it will withdraw all its members from El Dorado Park and the Klipspruit area from this morning over allegations of racism. Now, the move was prompted by the ongoing tension between black and colored teachers at Klipspruit West Secondary School, which the MEC, Panyasa Lesufi, found was not a racial incident. Now, for the latest on the story, we joined in studio by the Gauteng Education Department spokesperson, Mr. Steve Mabona. A very good morning to you, sir, and welcome.
Good morning.
First and foremostly, where do we stand right now as we speak, and what is the situation like on the ground at Klipspruit West?
Well, we can confirm that about 200 teachers did not report to different schools in El Dorado, talking about 30 schools which are affected, including Klipspruit West Secondary School. That one, you know that the teachers, that is 11 of them, they've been reporting to the district office since Monday. As you will know, that they were denied access to the school, and their fellow educators decided to join the rest to go and report at the district. So SATU members, they said they are in solidarity of their fellow teachers to say they can't be sitting at the district. They need to be at school teaching, which, well, that's what it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Hence, we met with the community yesterday to say, let's not disrupt schooling. We understand the complaints that you have, and we said we will investigate those allegations, but then we roped in South African Human Rights Commission yesterday. As you will know, that there were some racial allegations, and they committed that they will also assist in investigating those allegations. So today we are meeting the educators, the all affected educators, the 11 from the Klipspruit West, and the SATU members who came today at the district, because they didn't report at schools, but they came at the district. So we'll be interacting with them just to check on how can we really resolve this matter, and so that Tuesday it's back to normal.
Have SATU implemented the threat to withdraw these teachers already? So are they out of school? That's the question, actually.
Yes, we can confirm they are not at school. They didn't go this morning. They reported at a district office. So we met with them this morning, and they then suggested that because we had a scheduled meeting with the affected educators of Klipspruit West, they will then want an audience with the MEC as well to say, how do we resolve this matter? So we considered we will meet with them and just to resolve this matter, so that come Tuesday we have a back to normal situation.
What seems to be the greatest challenge at the Klipspruit West Secondary School?
Klipspruit West, remember we did a lot of work there. The only challenge that we have now, it's the new demands rather, or new complaints that the community representation came with yesterday, to say some of the things were not investigated, and they felt that we are not doing enough in terms of probably interacting with them and doing what is expected. But we said there is a commitment, and when you go into the issue of SGB, remember we said SGB must be disbanded, and SGB agreed with us to say they must be disbanded, because we gave them intention to disband and gave them an opportunity to give us reasons why they're not supposed to be disbanded, because that intention, it was not just an intention, a one-liner, it was an intention with reasons to say, as the department, this is what we have witnessed, you need to give us reasons why you think you're not supposed to be disbanded. And as such, they did sign to say disband us, we disbanded them. So what we need to do, we are empowering the school now. We're going to make sure that we limit the movement at the school, because we see that there's a lot of movement in the school. We're going to have more security there. We're deploying more officials that are going to be permanently at the school, because we had one official, so we think we need to have more officials that must go there. Come Tuesday, we need teaching and learning to proceed at that school.
What do you make of the allegation by the community representation? They were in our studios yesterday saying that there was only one representative and there was no change that was done since the beginning of the altercations at Klipspruit West.
Look, I'm not sure what they were referring to, because we met with them with different MECs. Remember when this thing started, at some point MEC Mama Bulo was acting, because MEC was attending some education engagement. So MEC Mama Bulo, engaged with them, and then we came to an agreement. And MEC Lusif went on his way back. He then committed, and we went back to meet with them to say, so what are the latest developments? And subsequent to that, they had additional complaints or allegations that they put on the table, which we acknowledged and said we will investigate. So probably they are impatient about the process of investigation, and we considered yesterday to say, look, let's then move forward, but let's make sure that we don't disrupt schooling, because any day lost, it's quite detriment for us to come back.
They've also indicated that SATU is politicizing the entire situation, and that's why they want to pull the teachers out of the schools. Do you concur with that, and do you think there is a lasting solution for the Klipspruit West and even Eldorado Park schools?
SATU can also again make a counter allegation to say Patriots for Equality, they are politicizing the school, because allegations are that Patriots for Equality, they've taken over the school. That's what SATU is saying as the department, you are doing nothing. We are aggrieved because you are letting Patriots for Equality to take over the school. And we are saying we are trying to give all parties an opportunity to participate in making sure that we have a resolution, we have a school that is fully functional. But if we are perceived as we are doing nothing as a department, we feel that is unfair. And remember when we were interacting with the community, at some point we interacted with all stakeholders, and we called all the stakeholders, including SATU and NAPTOSA, because SATU and NAPTOSA, those are the teacher union in our space. So we said, give them an opportunity, come, how do we resolve this? And we participated in so many deliberations. So, well, it's just unfortunate that today they had to withdraw their members, but then we'll give them a hearing and make sure that we resort that we're not going to disrupt schooling, because it's quite detriment that about 200 teachers are not at school. And you see a very critical situation that we are at now. We are busy with preliminary examinations. We are busy with school-based assessments, which we need those results at the end of the term. So it's quite critical that we are given an opportunity to continue with academic work without any disruption. We can still, on the sideways, deal with all other issues that are raised, but without disrupting schooling.
Mr. Mabona, I thank you so much for your time and joining us here in studio.
You're welcome. That
was Mr. Steve Mabona, spokesperson for the Department of Gauteng Education, here in studio with us. Well, you can comment on that, because that's what we're asking you. What do you make of the teachers being pulled out of that area in Eldorado Park as well as in Klipspruit? SART was doing that. Let me know what's on your mind. We'll read some of your comments shortly as soon as it comes through. Let's move on to other news, though. Former ANC Member of Parliament, Khoza, says that she's willing to rejoin the ANC if it institutes charges against the President Jacob Zuma for bringing the party into disrepute. Khoza announced her resignation from the party and Parliament yesterday. She's continued to speak out against the governing party, saying that the ANC wanted to get rid of her and has accused its leadership of lacking principles.
If the ANC could charge Comrade Judge Jacob Zuma first, because, you know, this thing of being exemplary is very important. Start with the head. If they can charge him for bringing the name of the ANC into disrepute, if they want me to help them with the charges, I will help them formulate them. I will, because I've read that constitution. You know, I will, actually the whole Rule 25, Comrade Zizi, I've read. And I can tell you exactly which rule the president has broken consistently. And if they do that, and they begin to charge people who are bringing the name of the ANC into disrepute, and not to charge people who are trying to save the ANC, I will go back to the ANC.
Interview with SABC News, Dr. Khoza said that she's relieved that she finally took that decision to resign from the ANC. However, she says it's one of the hardest things that she has had to do.
In fact, it's the ANC that molded my moral conscience. It's the ANC that built my moral character. But however, the current ANC leadership is not in sync with the kind of person that I am. They don't allow open, you know, to discuss challenges of the organization openly. The organization is evidently on a downward spiral, but the comrades are so much in denial. They keep on saying address the issues within, as if within it's easy to address the issues. They are so intolerant of divergent views, and that's the biggest problem of the ANC. You are easily labeled, you are easily told you are handled. I mean, even Zizi Kodwa has been saying, I'm handled, I am this, they know I'm being handled by somebody.
ANC National spokesperson Zizi Kodwa says that the party had treated Dr. Khoza fairly. Speaking to SABC News this morning, Kodwa disputed perceptions that she had been targeted and hounded out of the party because of her gender.
Of the people who have ventilated the same issues that she has raised in public, many of whom have done so courageously, internally so, whilst they've also raised those issues in public. You're talking about many other members of the NEC have been bold enough, who have ventilated issues in Parliament. They've come to the NEC of the ANC to repeat the same issues they've raised. That is the courage and bravery we want from any member of the ANC, and we encourage that. So she has received fair treatment equal to other members.
With Dr. Khoza's resignation, the ANC presidential hopeful Lindiwe Sisulu says that Khoza's resignation is a blow to the party. Gauteng ANC chair Paul Mashatile also agreed that Khoza's exit is a loss to the party. They were speaking on the sidelines of a housing summit on Gauteng's East Rand.
I would have wanted Khoza to have the same kind of attitude towards
the problems that she's experiencing, I would have wanted her to hold out, because we need people like her. I would have wanted her to hold up and continue the fight. The fight to ensure that the ANC is indeed the only option for the people of South Africa depends on us constantly accepting criticism and self-criticism. I don't know the circumstances under which she resigned, but I am regretful that she has resigned.
ANC is an organization that all of us join voluntarily. So if anybody wishes to leave, there's nothing we can do. But I don't think it's correct to say the ANC as an organization is a corrupt organization. You may have challenges with certain individuals, but the ANC as an organization, in fact, has been at the forefront of fighting corruption. There are good men and women in the ANC, and I think they will be able to continue to strive to ensure that the ANC deals with these challenges, whether it's state capture, corruption, and so on. I don't think we should give up.
The ANC's Special National Executive Meeting, the NEC, is currently underway in Irene, south of Pretoria. Among the issues to be discussed in the meeting are deliberations on the preparations leading up to the party's elective conference in December. The agenda also includes discussions of the recent ruling of the High Court in Pietermaritzburg that nullified the current provincial leadership in KwaZulu-Natal, as well as the resignation of the outspoken MP, Khoza. Former Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan and his former deputy, SABC Jonas, are demanding a full disclosure of the role that various parties played and the way in which staff of the auditing firm KPMG colluded during the compilation of the SARS report. The two met with KPMG's global chairperson John Weimeyer and other senior executives. Their meeting followed the auditing firm's withdrawal of its report of the so-called rogue unit at SARS. 8 KPMG executives have resigned. Weimeyer has apologized, saying that the firm's local branch made serious errors in judgment. Public Enterprises Minister Lynn Brown has reportedly instructed Eskom to begin legal action against companies, including consultancy firm McKinsey. Now, this is over their involvement in disputed contracts at the power utility. The others are Trillion, which has links with the Guptas, suspended acting CEO Machela Koko, and Chief Financial Officer Anoj Singh, who was on special leave. Brown's spokesperson Colin Cravachen says those who will face misconduct charges include the former head of procurement Edwin Mabelani, the acting head of Group Capital Prish Govender, and senior procurement manager Charles Kalima. In July, McKinsey said it was reviewing documents related to work done for Eskom. On a lighter note, the Steve Tshwete local municipality in Mpumalanga has honored Ndebele artist Esther Mahlangu. Mahlangu was born 81 years ago in Middelburg in Mpumalanga. She is now the municipality's heritage and cultural ambassador.
Celebrated at her home a few days after being honored with a mural dedicated to her work in New York, Esther Mahlangu urged the youth to follow in her footsteps.
They must preserve their culture, dress accordingly, and know that I painted, and that is what saw me going overseas, to places I never thought I would travel. I want them to follow in my footsteps and know their roots and teach handwork. They will fly just like me. When I sing in Ndebele, I am sending positive messages to the youth so that they can learn their culture and travel the world like me and not use drugs.
Icon of the Ndebele culture, the Steve Tshwete municipality has made Mahlangu their cultural and heritage ambassador.
She has achieved is so amazing, it is so immense, and we believe that the first wealth, it is your identity, which is why we are actually utilizing her to inspire young people in particular. And
Mahlangu also runs an art school. Gogo Mahlangu has appealed for sponsorship to build a proper school as her place where she was teaching youth has run out and she cannot take any more students. Sibongile Mkani Mpolweni, SABC News in Middelburg, Mpumalanga.
What guides us? What leads us forward? Is it the words of our sacred texts? Is it the actions of our people? Or the voices of our citizens? Your country is guided by the voices of its people, and your broadcaster is dependent on your voice to guide it. Get your copy of the SABC's editorial policy and have your say.
Well, a very good morning and welcome to AM News Live at 10:00 hours across all Central Africa regions.
A fitting send-off for a revolutionary giant, a life dedicated in service of the people.
The result means that the Swallows are out of the ABC Multiple League and drop to the amateur fourth tier of South African football, the SAB League.
Tune in on AM News every Saturday and Sunday from 10 hours.
The ANC's presidential hopeful, Dr. Khoza, says that greed and materialism are the main causes of corruption and political killings, and that the party will have to deal with this matter decisively. Speaking to the SABC on a wide range of issues, Khoza said that access to resources was creating a lot of temptation for people who focus more on corruption rather than on the people that it needs to serve.
You have, a tendency towards corruption, which is part of what creates tensions amongst a number of people. So as a result of that, you will find people who would like to keep to the positions that they have in power, and that gives rise to the problem of factionalism that we are looking at. Because normally the problem of differences of opinion is never a challenge, but once people have got a conflict based on competition for material interests, then it begins to get out of the way.
Is there a will within the party to deal decisively with such issues? And is the party actually ready to accept where it's wrong?
The party is ready to accept where it's wrong. The challenge is actually acting decisively and consistently with individuals, because there have been individuals who have been confronted with some of the of the conduct, and they have actually been able to step aside. Some have been asked to step aside, and they did. Others did so on their own, but it's not consistent. And so this is something that the conference has to correct, so that going forward, we must be able to deal with those kinds of issues.
The killings in the KZN, because mostly it appears that it's not about saving people, it's all about self-interest and self-enrichment. What do you think will happen eventually?
Well, it's a very sad situation there, because this is a province that's been very orderly of late, and we've dealt with most of the problems. I think that what we need to really go into is the basis of the killings. We are quite certain that it's got nothing to do with services to the people. It's got more to do with unscrupulous contest for opportunities, for government contracts, and we suspect that in fact they are then the criminal gangs that participate in the process, and that for us has caused a lot of concern, particularly because it sometimes plays onto the differences that exist amongst the leadership or the groups of members of the organization, and it has to be stamped out. And from where we sit, we need to give as much support to the leadership in the province and in the region, so that we can go into the bottom of where these killings are coming from.
Well, some call it the long weekend. It is here. And, of course, you need some entertainment. Now, the Essence Festival will be taking place from next Tuesday, the 26th of September 2017, to Sunday, the 1st of October, at the Durban International Convention Center. The festival will bring in a large contingent of international audience and the cast, such as internationally acclaimed speaker and author Bishop T.D. Jakes, Reverend Al Sharpton, as well as the American singer, songwriter, model, actress Jill Scott. She's one of my favorites. Festival ambassador Nomzamo Mbata and Metro FM breakfast Somisi Mshlong are among the personalities who will be hosting the festival, along with performances from the Durban-based artist Babes Wodumo and the award-winning rapper Nasty C. Now, to talk to us about the festival, we are joined by Philip Sitole. He's the Acting Deputy City Manager of Economic Development and the Planning Cluster at the eThekwini Municipality. A very good morning to you, sir, and welcome.
Good morning, and good morning to the viewership.
Now, it seems like there's a lot of excitement there in Durban. Can you feel it already?
Yes, we do feel it, and we are very excited that we are hosting this event for the third time this year, and we have seen growth in as far as the event is concerned, and we are ready. We are ready to host the event, and we are also excited that all artists and speakers are confirmed. So we are ready, and we encourage people to come down to Durban starting from Tuesday until Sunday next week.
Now, this year's theme is Firing Africa with Inspiration. Tell us more about the theme and where does it emanate from?
Well, the theme is more about saying that the event of this magnitude is an event that we want to see the African continent being part of the event, and Durban is part of the continent, South Africa is part of Africa. So in as much as we're at the beginning of the festival, because this is the third year, the hope for us is that in years to come, it has to be an event that appeals to the entire African continent, and it must be an event that brings hope to the continent, and but at the same time it's a party, and it's a party with purpose.
Now let's talk about that party. What can people expect when they get there from Tuesday onwards?
Well, for Tuesday, starting from the 26th up until the 28th, it's a conference. The first conference will be more concentrating on issues around black economic empowerment. And as the city, we've got programs that we'll be announcing on Tuesday, which are programs that are around radical economic transformation. And this is not just a talk. We'll be talking about projects that are already available for local small businesses and that they need to take advantage of. On the 28th, it's a women empowerment program. We call it Women in Business. So we've got various speakers from the continent and also from the US who will be part of this women empowerment program. But come Friday, it's the beginning of the exhibition, the business exhibition, which is starting on the 29th of September and ending on the 1st of October. But part of the exhibition, it also includes the book and art fair, it includes fashion, it includes programs that are part of the empowerment program. And the empowerment program, it's free to the public. People are encouraged to come in their numbers. This includes the exhibition. The exhibition is free. If you want to come as a member of public and look at the work that is done by SMMEs, you can come to the exhibition center from the 29th of September to the 1st of October. Music shows are on the 30th of September. We've got Nasty C, we've got Babes Wodumo, Jill Scott, and Mikasa, and tickets are starting at 195 Rand. They are available. I think we are left with less than 1,200 tickets now. We would like to encourage people to go and buy tickets, hoping that come Monday, Tuesday, all those tickets that are still remaining will be sold out. Sunday, T.D. Jakes show, it's the same story. I think we're left with about 800 tickets, and we'd like to encourage public to go and buy the remaining tickets. The masterclass, because T.D. Jakes is also an entrepreneur, there's a masterclass on Saturday. I'm told that that masterclass is now sold out. The business conference is sold out. The exhibition space is sold out, but the public is encouraged to come and be part of the book and art fair, the fashion show, as well as the exhibition is from the 29th of September until the 1st of October. And we'd like to say to people for the music shows, please go and buy your tickets. Don't get disappointed by Tuesday or Wednesday next week. Tickets are available at CompuTicket.
Now, although it sounds like a lot of empowerment and a lot of fun and a party to be had in Durban, earlier this year, the DA provincial leader wrote to the city manager requesting that a forensic investigation be instituted to probe the expenditure related to this particular festival. How do you view the sentiments that the festival is perhaps full of irregularities and point of departure for corruption?
Well, the investigations that were called for by a certain political party, that is beyond my scope. The city manager will have to deal with those issues. The issue at hand now is to tell South Africans that they must come in their numbers. There are certain platforms that have indicated that they are free to the public, like the exhibition, like the book fair, the fashion show, the health and lifestyle, which will be happening on the 30th at the beachfront. We've got a carnival on the 30th that is starting at King Dinizulu and finishing at the ICC. We are very much excited about the response from the public, despite negative publicity that we received, but the public has responded positively. That's why most of the elements of the Essence Festival are now sold out. On the issues that were raised about corruption, I mean, this is a new event and it's going to be a very big event in years to come. I mean, you go to all major shows globally, there will always be issues, but we must not forget about the bigger goal here. The bigger goal here is about the empowerment of locals. Maybe let me mention that in the Essence Festival last year, one of the success stories was that that platform was utilized by Americans and local Debonites to strike a deal that is worth more than 14 billion rands. So despite all the noise that has been made, give me one project which is, it's just a festival that facilitates a project worth more than 14 billion rand. In terms of that project, I am responsible for planning in the city. We are now going through zoning and approving plans for that particular project.
Okay, but Mr. Sithole,
another project was on urban renewal. Another project was a project that talks about youth empowerment on film, on the film industry. So we are excited that the objectives of the festival were met in the last 2 years. We are also excited that this year the objectives of the festival have been met. That's why we've got a resounding response from the public. And we're looking forward to Tuesday next week. And we've got speakers, international speakers. We've got Al Shepton, we've got Bishop T.D. Jakes, we've got Judy Dlamini, we've got so many other, we've got Vivian Reddy.
But Mr. Sithole,
so many speakers
Mr. Sithole,
that relates to...
I hear you, and it all sounds very well and good. But the point of departure is, how much did you expend last year and how profitable is the Essence Festival?
I like that question because I've already mentioned that the essence of doing Essence, it's about empowerment. The element that relates to empowerment were all covered. Give you an example, part of the things that we were expected to do was to open international platforms for our local artists. Last year, there were about 5 artists that performed in the USA in the Essence Festival in New Orleans. This year, we had about 7 artists that performed in New Orleans in the Essence Festival.
Mr. Sithole, how much was spent?
More than 500 exhibitors last year.
How much was spent?
How much was spent?
Yes.
Okay, the amount... the amount, because there have been confusion in terms of how much was spent. The actual amount that was spent, which relates to Essence, last year, it was around 25 million. That relates specifically to Essence Festival. Remember that all other components of the Essence Festival are programs that are already approved by the municipality. Whether we have Essence or no Essence, those programs, they have to continue. So the other parties we're talking about, they were aggregating all of those programs, which I think they amounted to about 88 million. as if it's an investment to the Essence Festival. Though the Durban Business Fair, it is now 19 years old. It's a city program. The Art Fair, it's a city program. The Healthy Living program, it's a city program. And all other programs like the Women Empowerment, the business conferences, these are programs that we do every year and will continue to do even if Essence is no longer here. These are city programs.
So,
we must not
25 million
things.
spent. So 25 million spent. How much income and profit was made from the event?
Well, the event, again, let me clarify that point. The event is not about profits. This is a community development program. I've already told you that last year we facilitated and we're still continuing with that development of worth about 14 billion rand. Give me one festival in South Africa that brings a partnership between Americans and South Africans that will be a project. If it becomes, if it is approved in terms of zoning and EIAs, that project is worth 14 billion rand. Give me one project that will a festival that will facilitate that project. That's why we say Essence, it's a party with purpose. Purpose here is economic development. Purpose here, it's cultural exchanges. It's about supporting creative industries. That's what has been done in the previous years. That's what we'll be doing come Tuesday until Sunday next week. And it's a party with purpose. We want to see local entrepreneurs benefiting, starting from the people who are doing arts and craft, to musicians, to entrepreneurs, to also local talent. Last year, more than 37 local artists benefited from the Essence.
Wonderful.
This year, we are looking at almost the same number of local artists that are benefiting. By the way, this year we are also involving, we have involved Amakhosi. We've got 18 Amakhosi within eThekwini, responsible for 21 regions. They will be part of the Essence Festival Carnival. So we have brought communities on board. This year we are also going to have churches involved. We are working with local church leaders. We have started 2 weeks ago. We are finishing off this year. We are visiting all churches within eThekwini to be part of the Essence Festival.
Mr. Sithole?
It's community embedded, the Essence Festival.
I thank you so much. It makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. To people, go and buy your tickets for the music shows.
There you go. That was Philip Sithole. He's the Acting Deputy City Manager of Economic Development and Planning Cluster, eThekwini Municipality. Remember, 25 million spent. Well, it's now time to take a break. It's time for your sports news.
Thank you very much, Elvis. 25 minutes spent and not able to say how much was made back. Very interesting conversation we just had there with leadership from eThekwini. Now, South Africa has advanced to the final of the Khoza Women's Cup in Bulawayo in dramatic fashion. Banyana came back from 3-0 down with 15 minutes to play to take the semi-final clash against Zambia to a penalty shootout. Leandre Smeda scored a brace before Ruda Mulaudzi leveled matters. Banyana won 5-3 on penalties to make it to their 5th consecutive COSAFA final. They will now face the host Zimbabwe, who beat Kenya 4-0.
Banyana put on a reasonable performance on the day. However, it was not good enough to break down their opponents in the first half. The opposition was not poor either. Their main strategy was to play long aerial passes. It paid off midway through the first half. Zambia scored in the 20th minute. Grace Chanda connected well with a cross from the left to put Zambia in the lead. Chanda completed a brace on the stroke of halftime with a powerful shot on the edge of the box. Zambia's third came in the 75th minute through Rahel Zulu. When they thought to have sealed victory, Banyana struck back. Leandra Smeda scored her brace in quick succession before a Roda Mlauzi equalizer with 6 minutes remaining.
Pulls one back for Banyana, it will give them a bit of hope. Easy Kakana now, breaking away for Banyana, she beats the marker, she comes with the cross, oh my goodness! It's the substitute, Roda Mlauzi, the 3-time champions from an unlikely position, get the equalizer.
We came back into the dressing room, spoke about those 3 things, spoke about playing for this.
if not for anything, playing for this, because we did not play in the first half at all. We allowed them to do what they wanted to. We kept giving the ball away. We didn't find the players in our team who could do damage, and players needed to step up, especially the senior players. Then they scored a third goal, but we always believe that if we get one back, the momentum will shift, and this group is special. They deserve all the credit for the fight back and putting their bodies on the line and getting the victory, because I said to them, there's a lot of people back home who are counting on us, our sponsors, Cecil, SAFA, and the fans, and we need to do it for this badge, and that's what they did today.
Overall, South Africa battled throughout the tournament, but with such fighting spirit, it's enough motivation for the final.
It's how badly they want it, and that is what I said to them. It's how badly do you want this at half time? How badly, if you're not ready to play and you feel you can't go on, tell me. Tell me, we have a special group here, and that's exactly what they did. And we just want to absorb the moment. We just want to celebrate the moment for today, and we'll worry about the final starting tomorrow.
We've always wanted to go through to the finals. Now in the finals, it's a do or die again. We knew that this game was not going to be easy. Once we get through this game, then we'll see when we get to the final. So I'm very proud of the team. We all happy. We all very proud of one another. It shows that if we together as a team, then nothing can come against us.
Banyana will play in the final on Sunday. SABC News, Bulawayo, Zimbabwe.
Now, players from Wits have admitted that it's tough, that things have not been working out for them ever since the start of the new season. The Absa Premiership defending champions are still without a win after 5 matches and are currently second from the bottom of the log with just 2 points. The club's biggest downfall so far has been the concession of way too many goals.
Bidvest Wits have the worst defensive record in the league. They have conceded in every game since the beginning of the season. The students have let in 10 goals in the Absa Premiership, scoring just 4 times. Wits failed to defend their MTN 8 title after conceding 5 goals in 3 games of this competition. This weekend, they host the high-flying Orlando Pirates.
For now, it's difficult, I won't lie to you, and it's painful for us, we as players, as well as the technical team. But we'll try by all means to be positive and keep going. From the beginning of the season, we've been trying, but things are not going the way we want. So I think it's all about hard work.
But it's the opposite with Kaizer Chiefs, who are aiming to climb the ladder. Amakosi have scored in each and every game in the league so far this season, conceding just 4 goals.
It's just for us now to stay grounded, to keep level-headed, and also looking to improve in all departments of our game, in all positions. And the most challenging thing right now for us is to the standard that we have set, to keep up with that standard. You know, the Amakosi way, with the energy, with the culture, with the passion.
Meanwhile, the 2 Pretoria clubs will be flying the South African flag high in the CAF interclub competitions. SuperSport will be away to Zambian outfit Zesco United in the Confederation Cup, and Mamelodi Sundowns will have to overcome Wydad Casablanca in the Champions League in Morocco.
No, it's going to be difficult in Morocco, and we need to work extremely hard because we're playing a very good team, quality team that was knocked out in the semi-finals by Zamalek, and we know what they can do. So for us, it's all about fighting harder, because this time around there's a quarter-final which was not there last year, and we need to put a lot of effort into getting the results.
A win for both Sundowns and SuperSport will see the 2 clubs advance to the semi-finals of their respective competitions. Sfiso Ramara, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Well, let's bring it all home for you. Absa Premiership action on the go this weekend. This is what you can expect to see. Of course, we've got a match on tonight already. First, we've got Cape Town City. Benny McCarthy trying to see if he can get back that same momentum that he started the season with out in Cape Town Stadium against Polokwane City. 8 p.m. is kickoff for that match. Then tomorrow afternoon, 4 matches. 3 p.m. first one. Ajax Cape Town travel to the Peter Mokaba Stadium to see if they can get one over Baroka FC. were almost joint log leaders were it not for goal difference on 11 points, just like Golden Arrows. But more about Golden Arrows shortly, because first up, Bid vs Wits against Orlando Pirates. Pirates standing in Wits' way. Wits trying to get out of the doldrums that they found themselves in. 6 p.m. kickoff there, and Orlando Pirates trying to see if they can get a little closer to the #1 spot. Kaizer Chiefs against Golden Arrows. Golden Arrows from KZN. When last did you see a KwaZulu-Natal team leading the log for so long? 5th round action, they're still leading. They're going to the 6th round, top of the power. Kaizer Chiefs, Dumile Nkuna, has he not been fantastic this season? AmaZulu FC against Platinum Stars at the King Zwelithini Stadium. It's the last match for Saturday night, kick-off at 8:15 p.m. And then Sunday at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium at 3 p.m. is where you have Chippa United with their new coach up against Bloem Celtic. Then Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa will lead a high-level delegation to London this weekend for South Africa's bid presentation to World Rugby for the right to host the 2023 Rugby World Cup. Ramaphosa is expected to lead the delegation at the behest of President Jacob Zuma, who's in New York at the United Nations General Assembly until Monday. The Deputy President will be accompanied by Sports Minister Thulasini Nxesi, as well as Deputy Gert Westhuizen, as well as from South African Rugby, the President, Mark Alexander, and Yuri Roux, the CEO of SARU. The South African government has already signed off on all guarantees needed to host the tournament, and South African Rugby believes the country's bid is technically and commercially compelling. The South African presentation will take place on Monday in England. World Rugby will announce the host of the 2023 Rugby World Cup on the 15th of November. The other 2 countries in the running are Ireland and France. And Southern Kings coach Dion Davids announced his team for Saturday's Pro 14 clash against Italian outfit Zebre in Port Elizabeth. Michael Willemsen remains as captain. These 2 teams have never played each other. Now, Saturday's clash is going to be uncharted water for both teams.
After 3 straight losses, the Kings are more determined than ever to chalk up a first one in the competition. Both teams are currently last on the log for their respective conferences. The Kings have started strong in their previous 3 encounters, but faded in the second halves.
It's been our first normal week in a long time, so I think we've had some good sessions here and there. Obviously stuff that we can still work on, but we had some time to work with a broader squad, and also to really work on some detail that we wanted to ensure that we want to improve on for this week. We will have to be on song and not have a situation where we again play 2 halves, 2 different halves. I think we need to put the 2 halves together now and ensure that we play 80-minute rugby.
Zebra are known for their physicality.
The European side seem to do the basics very well, and they keep coming with their forwards. So we've had to front up a lot more. So yeah, I think but that's something us as South Africans are, we love that. So yeah, we've just got to make that right mindset and go into the game with that physical, the physical mindset. Yeah.
Fly-off Kurt Coleman has been ruled out for 4 weeks due to a quad injury. Kim Daniels, SABC News, Port Elizabeth.
Well, that's it. Thanks very much for having joined us. You've been watching Newsroom. My name is Kendall Makamata. We'll be back on Monday with more news, more analysis right here on Newsroom. And I'm going to be having a great weekend. I hope you all do the same. Until then, lisaling sentle.
What guides us? What leads us forward? Is it leaders on a soapbox, spouting rhetoric for the crowd? Is it the actions of our people? Or the voices of our citizens? Your country is guided by the voices of its people. And your broadcaster is dependent on your voice to guide it. Get your copy of the SABC's editorial policy and have your say.
Well, a very good morning and welcome to AM News Live at 10:00 hours across all Central Africa regions.
A fitting send-off for a revolutionary giant, a life dedicated in service of the people.
The result means that the Swallows are out of the ABC Multiple League and drop to the amateur fourth tier of South African football, the SAB League.
Tune in on AM News every Saturday and Sunday from 10 hours.
With the